We're 8 months into 2026, and hip-hop hasn't had one quiet month yet. Pooh Shiesty walked into a Dallas studio in January and allegedly left with Gucci Mane's release papers signed at gunpoint. Federal indictment, kidnapping and extortion charges, 9 people.
Aside from learning that the 9th and final suspect has been arrested, we've been able to obtain video which shows the FBI at Pooh Shiesty's home the day he was arrested.
Gucci turned around and made a whole diss record about it. Then NBA Youngboy woke up in July, decided he didn't like Future, and dropped What Da What the same day Pluto released The Real Me, just to step on the man's rollout. Apologized, unapologized. Told the internet Pluto ain't no gangster. Now Doughboy wants to fight. But here's where it stops being funny. Because April 8th, NBA, Ben 10 walked into a Houston restaurant called Confessions and left in critical condition with multiple gunshot wounds. 5 weeks later, Baton Rouge, Wells Street. He got shot again, twice in 2 months. This ain't Instagram Live no more. This is real. And when that Houston footage started circulating, the internet noticed somebody standing in that room, J. Prince Jr. So now Houston's Godfather and Baton Rouge's most dangerous rapper are staring at each other across a decade of bad blood. And this time, there's no FaceTime call to fix it. Let's talk about J. Prince and NBA Youngboy. Ben 10 got shot, not in some random street altercation. This was connected to a beef so deep it involves one of the most powerful men in Houston rap history and one of the most untouchable names in the streets right now. J. Prince versus NBA Youngboy. And what most people don't know is that J. Prince's own son is the reason Ben 10 took those bullets. We're breaking down the full timeline, the robbery, the clout accusations, the banned order, and how this whole thing is escalating into something that could get a lot more people hurt. Y'all need to hear this. Before we get into the smoke, let's make sure everybody in the room understands who J. Prince actually is. Because if you're sleeping on his resume, you don't understand why this beef hitting different than your average rap industry drama. James Prince, the real name for the people in the back, is the founder of Rap-A-Lot Records. He built that label from the ground up in Houston, Texas back in 1986. Let me put that in perspective for you. When Houston rap was a punchline to the rest of the country, J. Prince was already building an empire. Ghetto Boys, Scarface, UGK got distribution through him. He has his fingerprints on the foundation of Southern hip-hop in a way that very few people can claim. But here's the thing about J. Prince that goes beyond the music business. The man is connected in ways that the industry doesn't even talk about publicly. When Tekashi 6ix9ine was getting extorted, it was J. Prince's name that came up in those conversations as someone who could make problems go away. When Drake and Meek Mill had beef escalating into something dangerous, J. Prince stepped in and mediated. There are stories about J. Prince walking into situations where federal agents couldn't tread and coming out with results. In Houston, this man is not just respected, he's revered. His word carries weight that goes beyond contracts and publishing deals. When J. Prince says you're welcome somewhere, doors open. And when J. Prince says you're not welcome, that's a different conversation entirely. So when we start talking about NBA Youngboy, a 20-something-year-old from Baton Rouge who's the biggest independent artist in the game right now, and J. Prince on the same timeline, that's not just beef between two people. That's a collision between two different worlds of power. Now let me give you the Youngboy side of this because you need to understand who J. Prince is actually dealing with here. And gang, this ain't your average rapper we're talking about. Kentrell Gaulden, NBA Youngboy, came up in Baton Rouge the hard way. No cap, the man was literally incarcerated as a teenager, and when he got out, he was putting out music at a rate that didn't make sense. Songs, mixtapes, collaborations, the frequency was insane, and the streets ate it up because it was authentic. It sounded like somebody who'd actually lived what he was rapping about because he had. What makes Youngboy different from most artists in his position is that he operates on a completely different axis than the traditional industry. He doesn't need radio. He doesn't need a major label cosign. He built his fan base, the Never Broke Again soldiers, into a movement that generates streaming numbers that embarrass artists with 10 times the budget. We're talking about the most streamed artist on YouTube multiple years running. That's not an accident, that's a real connection with real people. But here's what makes the Youngboy situation complicated when it comes to beef. The man is fiercely loyal and fiercely territorial about his integrity. If Youngboy feels like somebody is moving on him sideways, whether it's industry politics, fake love, or clout chasing, he responds. Every time, on wax, on social media, or through the people around him. He's been banned from multiple cities because of his associations and legal situations. He caught a federal gun case. He's been under house arrest. He relocated to Utah, of all places, partly because of legal restrictions and partly because he needed distance from the chaos. And yet, from Utah, this man is still dominating the culture, still dropping music, still at war. That's the person that J. Prince decided to make an enemy out of. And the sequence of events that created this situation? It starts with a robbery in 2020 that should have been a simple resolution, but became the spark that lit this entire fire. All right, fam, here's where the real story begins. 2020. Youngboy is in Houston. Now, Youngboy in Houston is already a complicated situation because that's J. Prince territory, historically, culturally, undeniably. But Youngboy isn't thinking about politics. He's moving how he moves. Here's what happened. Youngboy got robbed in Houston. His chain, his jewelry, gone. Now in the streets, getting robbed is already a major violation, but getting robbed in somebody else's city adds another layer because it raises the question, how does somebody move on a high-profile artist in a city that has that kind of oversight without somebody at least knowing it was about to happen? That's the undercurrent. That's what people were whispering about. Not necessarily that J. Prince authorized it or even knew, but that in a city where J. Prince's presence is felt that deeply, how does something like that go down without any intelligence about it? But here's where it gets crazy, and this is the part that actually created the public rift. J. Prince got the stuff back. Now, whether it was through his connects, through street pressure, through the network he's built over decades, however it happened, J. Prince was able to recover Youngboy's belongings, and most people would say that's a good look. That's somebody using their influence to help a fellow artist who got done wrong. Except J. Prince didn't just handle it quietly. He went online. He made a public statement letting Youngboy know, "Call me, I got your stuff, come get it." And from the outside looking in, you might think, okay, what's the problem? He's trying to help. But here's the real tea. Youngboy did not see it that way, not even close. In Youngboy's mind, and this is consistent with how he operates and how he's spoken about it, that public announcement was not an act of generosity. That was a power move. That was J. Prince putting himself in a position where he could say, I'm the one who made this right for Youngboy. I'm the reason he got his stuff back. In the streets, that kind of positioning matters. It creates a dynamic where you owe somebody, or at the very least, where somebody can publicly claim they did something for you. Youngboy is not the type to play that game. He's not going to call J. Prince on a recorded line or a witnessed conversation to collect his own belongings in a way that makes it look like he's coming to J. Prince hat in hand. Because in his mind, that's exactly what J. Prince wanted, the optics of Youngboy needing him, of Youngboy having to come to Houston and acknowledge J. Prince's power to get his own property back. No cap, Youngboy would rather leave the jewelry in Houston than play that chess game. And that's exactly what it looked like he was prepared to do. The accusation of clout chasing was real in Youngboy's camp. Why go online? Why make it public? If you're genuinely trying to help somebody, you find a way to get word to them privately. You don't broadcast it to the culture. The fact that it was public created the narrative that J. Prince was using Youngboy's robbery as an opportunity to show his own reach, and Youngboy wasn't here for it at all. So instead of a situation that gets resolved quietly, jewelry returned, respect shown, both sides move on, you've got a public fracture. Youngboy never publicly thanked J. Prince, never made that call publicly, and that silence in this world speaks volumes. Now let's fast forward because this is where the situation goes from industry politics and bruised egos to actual violence. And this is the part that most people covering this story have been getting wrong or leaving out entirely. Ben 10. If you're not familiar with the name, Ben 10 is one of Youngboy's people, part of his inner circle associated with the Never Broke Again movement, somebody who moves with Youngboy or in connection to his world, and Ben 10 got shot. But here's what really happened, and this is the part that needs to be broken down properly because the connection to J. Prince's family changes everything about how we understand this beef. J. Prince has a son, and his son was involved in a situation that created the chain of events that led to Ben 10 taking those shots. Here's what went down. J. Prince's son was the one who sent Youngboy's brother. We're talking about somebody in Youngboy's bloodline to go fight. A fight was organized or instigated, and the setup involved Youngboy's brother being sent into a confrontation that J. Prince's son had a hand in arranging. The fight happens, and what comes after the fight is that Ben 10 gets shot. Now connect those dots. J. Prince's son is setting up fights involving people in Youngboy's camp and family, and people connected to Youngboy are ending up shot as a consequence. This is not a coincidence that the streets are willing to overlook. This is seen as direct aggression. This is J. Prince's bloodline moving against Youngboy's bloodline and someone getting shot in the process. That's not beef anymore. That's war language. Think about what this means from Youngboy's perspective. You're already tight with J. Prince because you felt disrespected over the 2020 robbery situation. You already feel like he was using your misfortune to position himself. And now his son is out here setting up situations that result in your people getting shot. That's confirmation for Youngboy of everything he already believed about where J. Prince stood. And here's the thing about Youngboy that people don't fully appreciate. He takes loyalty and disloyalty with extreme seriousness. This man has songs, multiple songs, about betrayal, about people moving wrong, about consequences for those who violate. It's not just rap performance, it's documentation of how he actually moves in the world. So Ben 10 getting shot in the context of J. Prince's son being involved in the setup? In Youngboy's world, that requires a response. The question is what form that response takes. Now let's be clear about what we know and what we don't. The official narratives around Ben 10's shooting are not fully public in terms of charges, convictions, or confirmed attributions. But the streets have been talking, the connections have been drawn, and the timing and the circumstances point directly to the escalating tension between these two camps. This ain't random. Nobody in either camp is pretending it's random. Now here's where people started connecting the dots and realizing that the J. Prince versus Youngboy situation is operating on multiple levels simultaneously. This isn't just about a chain, a public post, and a fight that went wrong. There are layers to this that go back to fundamental questions about power, territory, and who controls what in the rap game. Let's talk about territory first. J. Prince built his influence in Houston over 4 decades. He is the architect of the city's position in hip-hop. When you talk about Houston rap, the culture, the sound, the business infrastructure, J. Prince's fingerprints are everywhere. That city is, in a very real sense, his domain in the way that few cities can claim to belong to any single figure in rap history. Youngboy, being from Baton Rouge, is not bowing to anybody's territorial claims. That's not how he operates. He's the type of artist who moves where he wants to move, builds what he builds, and doesn't ask permission. But in doing that, in coming through Houston and then publicly, through his silence and later through his associates' words signaling that he doesn't respect J. Prince's position, he's essentially challenged that territorial authority. And J. Prince is not the type to let that slide without response either. So you have two personalities who are both essentially immovable objects meeting each other. Neither one is built for backing down. But here's the real tea about why this particular beef is concerning people on a much deeper level than your average rap drama. J. Prince's connections go into places that most people don't want to publicly acknowledge. His relationship with law enforcement, with legal structures, with people of influence in Texas and beyond, that's a different kind of power than what most rap beef involves. Most beef is between artists or between street organizations. This is beef between an artist and someone who moves in corridors of power that are partially invisible. And on Youngboy's side, the Never Broke Again movement is not just a music label. It's a network of people who are intensely loyal to Youngboy personally. People who have demonstrated that loyalty in ways that go beyond streaming his music. He has built genuine, real-world allegiance that makes any move against him or his people a move against a much larger body. So when you put those two power structures in conflict, J. Prince's institutional connected power versus Youngboy's grassroots street-level loyalty, you've got a collision that isn't going to resolve itself easily, because neither side has an obvious weak point that the other can exploit without serious consequence. The clout-chasing accusation also tells you something important about Youngboy's psychology in this situation. That wasn't just an insult he threw out casually. That was a diagnosis of what he believed J. Prince's motivation was. He believed, and apparently still believes, that J. Prince saw an opportunity to use Youngboy's name to elevate his own relevance with a younger generation that might not be fully aware of Rap-A-Lot's history, like J. Prince needed the association more than Youngboy did. Whether that's accurate or not is almost beside the point. What matters is that Youngboy believes it. And when Youngboy believes something about somebody's character, it locks in. He doesn't give people the benefit of the doubt on those calls. Now let's get into the banned from Houston piece, because this is where J. Prince's institutional power makes itself felt in a very tangible way. And this is the detail that separates this beef from your standard rap industry drama. Youngboy being banned from Houston, or effectively being signaled that Houston is unwelcome territory, is a statement of power that very few people in the country could make stick. Because Houston is a city, you can't officially ban someone from a city, but you can make it known that someone who shows up there is going to face pressure from multiple directions simultaneously. Legal, social, street, all of it coming at once. J. Prince has the kind of relationships in Houston that make that possible. He knows people in positions where they can make an artist's presence in that city legally complicated, professionally costly, and personally dangerous. A venue doesn't book you because of concerns. A promoter won't put your show on. And on the street side, the people who would normally provide security or safe passage in that city are aligned differently when J. Prince's name is in the conversation. That's a real ban, not a piece of paper, an environmental reality. And for Youngboy specifically, this hits differently because of his legal situation. He's been navigating federal supervision, house arrest conditions, travel restrictions. Adding a hostile environment in one of America's major cities, one with a highly active music scene and a fan base that would love to see him perform, is a professional limitation that costs real money and real reach. But here's where it gets crazy. Youngboy's response to being banned from Houston tells you everything about his mentality. He didn't try to negotiate. He didn't reach out through intermediaries to smooth things over. He essentially doubled down. Through his music, through his associations, through his silence on certain things and his loud declarations on others, the message from his camp has been clear. We don't need Houston's permission to be who we are. That's either incredibly brave or incredibly reckless depending on which side of this you're standing on. And the fact that it led to Ben 10 getting shot suggests that the recklessness assessment has some validity to it, because people in Youngboy's orbit are paying for this position with real consequences. Let's zoom out for a second, because this beef between J. Prince and Youngboy is actually a mirror of a much bigger conversation happening in hip-hop right now about who holds power and how that power is exercised. J. Prince represents a generation of executives and power brokers who built the industry through personal relationships, street credibility, and institutional connections. The Rap-A-Lot model. Control your masters, control your city, build relationships that extend beyond the music business, was revolutionary when he invented it, and it still works. But it's a model built on a certain kind of hierarchy, a respect structure where younger people acknowledge the power of those who came before. Youngboy represents something completely different. He's the poster child for the artist who bypasses every traditional power structure. No major label needed, no radio gatekeeper needed, no industry veteran cosign needed. He built his empire on direct-to-fan distribution and authentic street credibility, and he got there without bowing to anybody. When those two models meet, and they were always going to meet eventually, the collision is about more than just this specific beef. It's about whether the old hierarchy still has the power to enforce itself. Can J. Prince actually make Youngboy's life difficult enough that it changes how Youngboy moves? Or has Youngboy built such an independent infrastructure that traditional power moves don't land the same way? The answer seems to be somewhere complicated in the middle. J. Prince can absolutely make Houston a problem for Youngboy. He can affect venues, create street pressure, and the Ben 10 situation shows that people in Youngboy's world are being affected in the worst way possible. Those are real consequences, but Youngboy from Utah is still the most streamed artist in the game. The ban doesn't stop his music from reaching his fans. It doesn't stop the money. It doesn't stop the movement. The reach that J. Prince has is geographically and institutionally bound in ways that Youngboy's influence is not. And that asymmetry is actually what makes this beef so dangerous, because J. Prince can hurt Youngboy's people, but he can't fully stop Youngboy. And Youngboy's response to people being hurt in his world is always to escalate, not to negotiate, so the cycle has no obvious exit. So where does this leave us right now, gang? Because this is not a resolved situation. This is an ongoing, active, dangerous beef with real casualties already on the board. Ben 10 got shot. That's a fact that's sitting in the middle of this situation like a stone that nobody can pretend isn't there. Someone in Youngboy's circle got shot in a situation connected, through J. Prince's son's involvement, to this beef. That doesn't go away. That doesn't get smoothed over with a phone call or a handshake. In Youngboy's world, when your people get hurt, that's a permanent mark. That's something that gets referenced in lyrics, in conversations, in the way loyalty gets evaluated going forward. He's the type of artist who keeps receipts. Not just metaphorically, but literally through his music, which has always been his most honest form of communication. J. Prince, for his part, has maintained a certain kind of public posture about all of this. He's not the type to go on Instagram Live and have a screaming match. He's been doing this for 40 years, and he understands that the real moves happen away from the cameras. But his son's involvement in the situation that led to Ben 10 getting shot means that his family is now directly entangled in this. Not just his business reputation, not just his Houston influence, his bloodline. And that changes the calculus for J. Prince too, because when your son is making moves that escalate a beef and result in people getting shot, you're either defending that or you're addressing it internally. And J. Prince defending his son's actions, even implicitly through his silence, means he's co-signing an escalation that he may not be able to pull back from easily. The Houston music scene itself is watching this nervously, because J. Prince's influence has always been a protective umbrella over Houston rap in a certain sense. His relationships have kept certain problems at bay, but a prolonged, public, violent beef with someone of Youngboy's stature and Youngboy's reach drags Houston into a conflict that extends far beyond city limits. Youngboy has fans and affiliated people all over the country, people who take his beefs personally. There are also the business implications. Youngboy's fan base, active, aggressive in their support, and deeply loyal, has already been making noise about this situation online. The streams, the comments, the way NBA Youngboy's people move on social media, it's an organized force. J. Prince's institutional power doesn't necessarily translate into that kind of digital mobilization. Here's what this whole situation really comes down to at the core level. This is about two completely different definitions of power colliding in real time. J. Prince's power is vertical. It's built on hierarchy, on institutional relationships, on being the man that other powerful men know and respect. His influence flows from the top down, the connections he has to people with resources, legal authority, and street organization. That's a specific kind of power that has ruled certain parts of the rap game for decades. Youngboy's power is horizontal. It's built on mass, the sheer number of real people across the country who genuinely ride for him. Not because they've been organized to, not because they're being paid to, but because they authentically connect with his music and his story. That kind of power doesn't have a headquarters you can pressure. It doesn't have a phone number you can call to make it stop. When vertical power tries to press down on horizontal power, what usually happens is that the horizontal power spreads wider. The pressure doesn't eliminate it, it broadcasts it. Every move J. Prince makes that can be interpreted as aggression against Youngboy becomes content for Youngboy's supporters to rally around. The banned from Houston narrative, the robbery, the public post about the jewelry, all of it has become fuel. And when horizontal power tries to directly challenge vertical power, when Youngboy's camp makes moves in Houston that are read as disrespectful to J. Prince's authority, the vertical power deploys consequences that the horizontal power can't fully absorb. Ben 10 getting shot. Situations that are personal, immediate, and painful in a way that streaming numbers don't protect against. So you've got two powers that can each hurt the other, but neither can fully destroy the other. And in that kind of stalemate, the question becomes, who's willing to absorb more damage? Youngboy's entire brand is built on being unbothered, on taking loss and turning it into fuel, on being the one who doesn't need your city's permission, doesn't need your cosign, doesn't need your blessing. His entire positioning in the culture is predicated on showing that no external force can break him. If he backs down from J. Prince, if he tries to negotiate, make peace, acknowledge J. Prince's power, he undermines the entire mythology that his career is built on. J. Prince, on the other hand, has spent 40 years building a reputation as someone whose authority is not challenged without consequence. If Youngboy moves through this whole situation and comes out the other side with his independence intact and his music still dominating, if the banning doesn't stick, if the pressure doesn't register, then that's a statement about the limits of J. Prince's reach that other artists and executives are going to notice. Neither one of them can afford to lose this, and that's exactly why it keeps escalating. Y'all need to understand something. This situation is bigger than rap beef. This is bigger than a chain or a post or two powerful people having their egos bruised. Ben 10 got shot. That's real life. That's somebody's health, somebody's safety, somebody's future. The pattern in this situation, the robbery, the public response, the clout accusation, the escalation through J. Prince's son, the fight involving Youngboy's brother, the shooting, is a classic sequence of how these things spiral out of control. Each step feels like a proportional response to the last one. Each side feels justified, and the people at the center of the actual power, J. Prince, Youngboy, are still standing while people adjacent to them are catching the real smoke. That's always how it goes, fam. The generals don't take the bullets, the soldiers do. Real recognize real, and what I recognize in this situation is two men who are both legitimate in their own right, both with real legacies, both with real power, and who could theoretically coexist in the culture because there's enough room. But pride, positioning, and the politics of respect have turned a jewelry situation into something that's gotten people shot. The question the culture needs to be asking is not who's right and who's wrong. The question is, when does somebody with enough influence on either side decide that this particular war isn't worth the casualties? Because if history tells us anything about beefs at this level, when you've got this much pride, this much money, this much real-world consequence wrapped up in it, the answer to that question usually comes too late. Drop in the comments, who do you think moves wrong first in this situation? Was Youngboy right to read J. Prince's public post as clout chasing, or was J. Prince genuinely trying to help and got no credit? And do you think this thing ever gets resolved, or is Houston permanently closed to Youngboy? I'll be back with more. Stay up, gang.
Their friends are locked up, people have gotten killed. This is good for everybody. But some people have a problem with this. You have a problem with that?
You damn right.
Okay, explain.
Why y'all ain't do this in the beginning? Why y'all ain't do this in the beginning? Why did we have to go through so much shit for y'all niggas to feel like y'all gonna put the money first and y'all gonna come together?
Young Thug and YFN Lucci just got out of prison, right? These two been at war for years. Bodies dropped, families destroyed, the whole city of Atlanta on edge. And what do the second they both touch down? They in the club together, hugged up, acting like the last decade never happened. But here's the crazy part. While Thug and Lucci playing buddy-buddy, there's one person who ain't feeling this peace treaty at all. Lil Woody. The same Lil Woody who allegedly put in real work for YSL. The same Woody who allegedly killed Peanut and never saw the inside of a cell for it. And now Woody mad as hell, talking reckless, and the streets saying this beef about to get deadly all over again. Let me break this whole thing down for y'all, no cap. To understand why Lil Woody going crazy right now, we gotta go back and understand how deep this YSL and YFN war really was. This ain't no Twitter beef, this ain't no subliminal shots and songs. This was real gang warfare that had Atlanta in a chokehold for damn near a decade. Young Thug and YFN Lucci, these weren't always enemies, fam. Real talk, at one point these dudes was cool. They was both coming up in the Atlanta rap scene, both making noise, both getting money. But somewhere along the line, the friendship turned into one of the most violent rap beefs Atlanta ever seen. Now, Lil Woody, this dude was Young Thug's alleged shooter. And I'm saying alleged for legal reasons, but the streets know what it is. Woody was YSL through and through, ready to ride for the gang at any moment. And according to everything that came out during the YSL RICO trial, Woody was involved in some serious street activity. The most shocking allegation? That Woody killed a dude named Peanut. And this wasn't no random act. This was allegedly part of the ongoing war between YSL and YFN. Bodies was dropping on both sides, the feds was watching, and the whole situation was spiraling out of control. But here's the crazy part. Woody never went to jail for it. He beat that case, walked free, and kept moving. Now, while all this was happening, Young Thug and YFN Lucci both end up locked up on RICO charges. The feds finally had enough and decided to bring down the whole operation. Both crews got hit hard. Thug facing life, Lucci facing decades, and everyone waiting to see who gonna flip first. But that's when things got real interesting, fam. Both Thug and Lucci sitting in prison, fighting for their lives in court, and something unexpected started happening. They started realizing that this beef, this war that destroyed families, took lives, and put them both in prison, it wasn't worth it no more. Thug ends up taking a plea deal after one of the longest trials in Georgia history. Lucci works out his own situation, and then, one by one, they both get released. The streets was watching, wondering what was going to happen next. Was the war going to continue? Was shots going to get fired the second they both free? Nobody expected what happened next. There's a video that hit the internet that had everybody's jaw on the floor. Young Thug and YFN Lucci in the same club, together. Not just in the same building, they was hanging out, being friendly, acting like brothers who just reconnected after years apart. And for some people, this was beautiful. This was growth. This was two men who went through hell and came out the other side, realizing life too short for all that violence. Atlanta needed this, the culture needed this, but for Lil Woody, this was betrayal. This was disrespect. This was everything he stood against, and Woody didn't hold his tongue. He went on DJ Vlad's platform and let it all out. Woody sat down with Vlad, and from the jump, you could see he was heated. Vlad brings up the video of Thug and Lucci together talking about how great it is for Atlanta, how both crews can finally move on and get money together. Woody's response? You have a problem with that? You damn right. And then he went in. Why y'all ain't do this in the beginning? Why did we have to go through so much shit for y'all to feel like y'all gonna put the money first and y'all going to come together? Y'all could have squashed the beef. Y'all could have came together a long time ago.
Their friends are locked up, people have gotten killed. This is good for everybody. But some people have a problem with this. You have a problem with that.
You damn right.
Okay, explain.
Why y'all ain't do this in the beginning? Why y'all ain't do this in the beginning? Why did we have to go through so much shit for y'all niggas to feel like y'all gonna put the money first and y'all gonna come together? Y'all could have been squashed the beef. Y'all could have been came together a long time ago. Y'all could have. But now y'all saying, man, this shit ain't about... Bro, you know how many people sitting in jail for the rest of their life behind this shit? You know how many families that still broken behind this shit? You damn right. I come from this environment, Vlad. I come from here.
Listen to that pain in his voice, fam. Woody talking about people sitting in jail for the rest of their life behind this beef. Families that's still broken. Young dudes who lost their lives to death or prison. And now Thug and Lucci acting like it's all love? Woody kept going. I come from this environment. I didn't want to go to war with people. I didn't want to have people as enemies. We was friends at a point. Lucci is not an enemy to me. But y'all so selfish that y'all showed the world how selfish y'all is.
I didn't want to go to war with people. I didn't want to have people as enemies. I wanted to be friends with a lot of them because we was friends. See, a lot of y'all don't understand. We wasn't never always enemies. We were friends at a point. Lucci is not an enemy to me. I could go out this door right now and see Lucci and keep going about my business. I'm not here to try to tear nobody down. But at the end of the day, man, y'all so selfish that y'all showed the world how selfish y'all is.
This hit different, for real, because Woody exposing something the culture don't like to talk about. These rap beefs, they ain't just affecting the rappers, it's the shooters, the soldiers, the people on the ground doing the dirty work who pay the real price. And when the bosses decide to make peace, what about everybody who already sacrificed everything? But here's where Woody dropped a bomb that changed everything. He revealed that he had conversations with Young Thug about ending the beef before all this happened. Woody told Thug straight up, man, this ain't about nothing. I'm gonna go over there and talk to these dudes and squash this.
That's why I feel some type of way. It's fake. Because me and Thug had a conversation where I told Thug, like, man, look, bro, for real, bro, this shit ain't about nothing. I told this nigga this shit ain't about nothing. I told this nigga I'm gonna go over here and talk to these niggas and squash this shit.
According to Woody, the other side was willing to sit down and end it. They wasn't scared, but they was ready for peace because everybody knew Atlanta was for getting money, not going to war. But instead of taking that route, it became an all-out war. And now, after all the death, all the prison time, all the families hurting, now they want to be friends? Woody said it best. Y'all in the club partying, talking about because y'all went to trial and everybody flipped on y'all. Man, come on.
But they willing to sit down and squash it because everybody like, man, we Atlanta, we known for getting money. We ain't trying to go to war, but it's an all-out war. A whole lot of families hurting. A whole lot of young men don't lost their life to death, and jail. And y'all niggas in the club party? Talking about because y'all went to trial and everybody flipped on y'all? What?
Now here's where people started connecting the dots and things got even more complicated, fam. Vlad brought up something that a lot of people was thinking. When Thug and Lucci was hanging out in that club, people remembered that Lucci's mom allegedly got shot at during the height of the beef.
The thing that people pointed out when they were hanging out in the club together was that Lucci's mom was allegedly shot at.
How you gonna be cool with somebody after they allegedly had your mama shot at? Woody's response was calculated. He said the first time Lucci's mom's house got shot up, Lucci was on a promo tour in Tampa. Got the call right before going on stage. About 15 shots fired at his mama's house. Nobody got hit, thank God, but still, that's your mother.
The first time I was on a promo tour, I was in Tampa. I was actually about to go right on the stage and then they called me like the house got shot up. I did my performance, then we hit the road and went back home because I had to go check on my mama. Everything was good though. Ain't nobody get hit or nothing.
How many shots were there?
I don't know, probably like 15.
And then Woody brought up the fact that Young Thug made a song about it. The line said, I shot at his mommy, now he don't mention me. Now Woody was smart about how he addressed this. He said Thug didn't specifically say who he was talking about in that line. The internet just connected dots and assumed it was about Lucci. And Woody pointed out something important. From his understanding, Thug ain't never shot at nobody's mama himself. If it happened, somebody else did it.
Did he say who mom he shot at?
No, he did not.
So people just take things and try to investigate and try to make it what it is. From my understanding, Thug ain't never shot at nobody's mama.
But here's the thing, fam. In street politics, it don't matter who pulled the trigger. If you the boss, if you the one calling shots, you responsible for what your people do. That's how it works. So when people see Thug and Lucci together after all this, after alleged shootings at family members, after friends dying, after years in court, it feel fake. It feel like a business move, not real reconciliation. And Woody ain't buying it. He made it clear. I don't got nothing against Lucci, and I love Thug. I don't got nothing against neither one of them brothers, but I just don't like the simple fact how they handle this situation.
And I love Thug. I love Lucci too. I don't got nothing against neither one of them brothers. But I just don't like the simple fact how they handle this situation.
For Woody, there's a difference between squashing beef and being best friends. He said if Thug and Lucci came home and just agreed to stop the violence, that would be big. But hanging out together after everything that happened, that's different. You think I'm going to hang with one of these dudes and we've been out here trying to, you feel me? No, man, that ain't how it go. It ain't no bad blood, but we ain't cool either.
You remember, I did an interview before then. I was like, if Thug and Lucci come home and they squash beef, that'd be big. I said squash the beef. I ain't say hang out. You think I'm finna hang with one of these niggas and we been out here trying to, you feel me? Nah, man, that ain't how that go. It ain't no bad blood, but we ain't cool either.
Now, the fallout from this interview been crazy, fam. The streets is divided on this whole situation. On one side, you got people who respect what Thug and Lucci doing. They saying these two men grew up, learned from their mistakes, and decided to choose peace over violence. They saying this is what hip-hop needs. Less beefs, more unity, more money being made instead of being spent on lawyers and funerals. These folks pointing out that Thug and Lucci both went through hell in prison. They both faced RICO charges that could have put them away for life. They both watched their friends flip and testify against them. They both lost people they love to this beef. So if they can put it behind them and move forward, who are we to judge? On the other side, you got people like Woody who's saying it's disrespectful to everybody who already paid the price. You got dudes serving life sentences for this beef. You got mothers who buried their sons. You got families that's never gonna be whole again. And now the leaders who started all this just gonna act like it never happened? The street's been talking heavy about this. Social media going crazy with takes on both sides. Some people calling Woody a hater, others saying he keeping it more real than anybody else willing to speak on it. But here's what makes this situation even more dangerous. Woody talking reckless, and when you're talking about real street business on public platforms, that can have real consequences. Think about it, fam. Woody out here essentially saying the peace treaty between YSL and YFN is fake. He's saying it's disrespectful to everybody who put in work. He's calling out the leaders for being selfish. In street politics, that type of talk can reignite situations that people thought was over. And Woody ain't just some random dude talking. This is somebody who allegedly was deep in the trenches, somebody who allegedly put in real work, somebody who people in the streets know and respect. When he talks, people listen. So what does all this mean for hip-hop and street culture, fam? Let me break down the bigger implications of what we're seeing here. First, this exposes a reality about gang culture that don't get talked about enough. When the bosses go to war, it's the soldiers who do the fighting and dying. And when the bosses decide to make peace, the soldiers often get left behind. They still dealing with the trauma, they still locked up, they still got enemies, but the people who started it all moved on. Woody representing all them dudes who can't just flip a switch and be cool. He put bodies on the line, allegedly took a life, and lived with that weight. You can't just erase that type of involvement because the bosses decided to take a picture together in the club. Second, this shows the complicated nature of loyalty in street politics. Woody loyal to Young Thug. He said he loved him, but that same loyalty making him question Thug's decisions now. That's real internal conflict right there. When the person you rode for makes moves you don't agree with, what you supposed to do? Third, this beef highlighting something important about how we consume hip-hop beef as entertainment. For people watching from the outside, seeing Thug and Lucci together is cool, it's growth, it's positive, but for people who actually lived through it, who lost friends and family, who put in work, it hit different. We gotta remember that behind every rap beef, there's real people dealing with real consequences. It ain't just music, it ain't just entertainment. People really dying, really going to prison, really losing everything over these situations. Now, where things stand right now is tense, fam, real tense. Lil Woody done said his piece on a major platform. Millions of people heard him question the peace between Thug and Lucci. That interview already got hundreds of thousands of views, with people clipping it up and spreading it all over social media. The question is, what happens next? Young Thug and YFN Lucci been quiet since Woody's interview. They ain't responded publicly. They ain't addressed his concerns. They just continuing to move how they moving. Maybe they think addressing it would make it bigger than it needs to be. Maybe they think Woody entitled to his opinion and they gonna just keep doing them. But in street politics, silence can be interpreted different ways. Some might see it as maturity. They above the drama, focused on their own peace and money. Others might see it as dismissive, like they don't care about how the soldiers who fought for them feeling. And here's the scary part, fam. When you got one person publicly saying the peace is fake and disrespectful, that can embolden others who feel the same way. There might be more YSL members who agree with Woody but wasn't ready to speak on it publicly. Now that he broke the ice, others might start voicing their displeasure too. That's how beefs that everybody thought was dead come back to life. One person speaks up, others co-sign, tension builds, and before you know it, we back to square one. The other factor is that both Thug and Lucci still on probation or supervised release. They can't afford to get caught up in no drama. If violence pops off and it gets traced back to them in any way, they going right back to prison, so they got motivation to keep things peaceful whether they want to or not. But what about people like Woody? People who ain't on paper, people who feel disrespected, people who think the leader's sold out. That's the wild card, fam. That's what makes this situation potentially deadly. At the end of the day, this situation with Lil Woody, Young Thug, and YFN Lucci showing us something important about the culture we in. Peace is beautiful, but it's complicated. Forgiveness is necessary, but it's hard. Moving on is smart, but it don't erase the past. Woody raising real questions that deserve real answers. How you make peace when so many people already paid the ultimate price. How you tell somebody to let it go when they lost friends and freedom fighting a war you started. How you expect soldiers to be cool when the generals decided to switch up. These ain't easy questions and there ain't no easy answers. What I do know is this: the culture need more conversations like this. We need to talk about the real impact of these beefs. We need to think about the people who get caught in the middle. We need to value peace, but also acknowledge the pain that came before it. For Young Thug and YFN Lucci, I hope they really did grow and learn from their experiences. I hope they really committed to ending the cycle of violence. I hope they're using their influence to prevent the next generation from making the same mistakes. For Lil Woody, I hope he find his own peace. He clearly dealing with a lot. Trauma from what he allegedly been through. Anger at how things played out. Confusion about loyalty and respect. He deserved to heal too, even if his path looked different from Thug and Lucci's. And for everybody watching this, remember, these are real lives, real consequences, real pain. This ain't just entertainment for YouTube videos. Behind every story is somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's friend. The streets watching to see what happens next. Is this the end of the YSL and YFN beef? Or is Lil Woody about to reignite something everybody thought was over? Only time gonna tell, fam. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Woody right for calling out the peace treaty? Or should he let Thug and Lucci move forward? And do y'all think this beef really over? Or is this just a calm before another storm? Hit that like button, subscribe if you ain't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and remember, real recognize real, but real also recognize when it's time to let go. Peace.
At Thugger, man. Top say, yo, bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway. How you want to do it? Slap! You ain't slap no more, you a spider. You a spider. How y'all feel about that?
NBA Young Boy just told Young Thug through his homie Herm that Thug's bitch ass ain't slime no more, and then asked him how he wanna do it. Read that again. The man who literally invented the word slime in rap culture, the man who built his entire identity, his entire label, his entire brand around the word slime, just got told by Top that he don't qualify for that title anymore, and then got challenged on how he wants to address it. Herm Thaw Black Sheep, NBA, Young Boy's certified right-hand soldier, pulled up on Young Thug's Instagram and posted publicly for the world to see. Top say your bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway. How you want to do it? That's not a subliminal. That's not a vague bar on a mixtape. That's a direct, signed, time-stamped, publicly posted street challenge from the Young Boy camp to Jeffrey Lamar Williams.
Oh yeah, bet that Jeffrey, you know what up. You know what up from here. Hermie Singh has another message for Thug. Oh yeah, bet Jeffrey know what's up from here.
Sent through the soldier most publicly associated with YB's loyalty. The same man who told the world he'd tie YB's shoes if they came untied, and aimed directly at one of the most dangerous men to ever pick up a microphone. The word slime is not just slang in this context, fam. You need to understand what that word means in the world these men exist in. Young Thug didn't just use slime as a catchphrase. He didn't just throw it in hooks and ad-libs for flavor. He built a theology around it. YSL, Young Stoner Life, the slime movement, the slime language, the YSL chain, the slime nation. All of that is Thug's cultural DNA. He coined it. He spread it. He made it gospel in Atlanta and then in every city that adopted trap music as its soundtrack. When you call someone slime, you are invoking Thug's world.
Cause I don't think the motherfuckers in Minnesota that say it's slime just
we don't know
any of that
thing
shit that you just real talk.
Because you broke it down for people to know.
But I think people saying it for their own reasons though. I don't think that, it's just like the inner circle, like the ones that's like literally right here that know my meaning. You know what I'm saying? That was presented the opportunity to be a part of the family. They know the real meaning. You know what I'm saying? Other people that wasn't even presented the opportunity, they just feel like they in the family. I feel like every one of the individuals got their own meaning. They main meaning might be the same thing, but you got your own meaning of why you rocking with us, why you fucking with us. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the biggest meaning is because we family oriented. You know what I'm saying? We locked in, so people just be like, damn, I feel like most of our fans come from respect. Like, it's some respectful shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
when you say someone ain't slime, you are reaching into Thug's world and snatching back the one thing that defines it. And that is exactly what Young Boy just did through Herm. He reached into Thug's house and said, "You don't belong here anymore. Your bitch ass ain't slime. How you want to do it?" That is one of the coldest, most calculated disrespects in recent hip-hop history. And it happened yesterday, May 15th, 2026. Y'all need to be locked in for this entire breakdown, because this is not just Twitter smoke. This is not two internet personalities going at it for content. This is the 4KT movement, the Never Broke Again camp, the most commercially dominant independent rap operation alive right now, pulling up on a man who just got out of one of the most consequential criminal cases in hip-hop history, a man who is on 15 years of probation, a man who cannot put a foot wrong, and saying, "Top said you ain't who you think you are. Now what? Let me break it all the way down for you." To feel the full weight of what just happened, you need context. Not just who these people are musically, but who they are politically, socially, and in terms of where they stand right now in 2026. Because none of this makes sense without understanding the ground these men are standing on. Let's start with Hermthaw Black Sheep. If you run in the 4KT internet or you follow NBA Youngboy's circle closely, Herm is not a stranger. He's a rapper under the Never Broke Again umbrella, signed to YB's label, embedded in his circle, one of the most vocal public soldiers in the camp. He went on the Mogul State of Mind podcast, on camera, no hesitation, and told the world he would tie NBA Youngboy's shoes if they came untied. His exact words, "I don't give a fuck if his shoes come untied, bro. I'ma tie that beat shit. You know what I'm saying? I'ma do whatever I gotta do to make this suit be how the fuck it's supposed to be." He said he'd hold doors open, hold umbrellas in the rain, do whatever it takes to protect the brand. And yeah, when that interview circulated, people made jokes, people said it was corny, people said he was too deep in YB's pockets, but in hindsight, those people were missing the point entirely. Herm wasn't performing loyalty. He was defining it. He was telling you exactly who he is and exactly what he would do. And on May 15th, 2026, he proved every single word of it. Because when Top said jump, Herm didn't ask how high. He already knew. He went directly to Young Thug's Instagram page and publicly delivered a message that the entire internet could see, screenshot, and share. That's a man who understands his role and is completely comfortable executing it, no matter the target, no matter the consequences. Now let's talk about Young Thug, because the Thug you have to understand for this story is not the Thug from the Lifestyle era or the Digits era or even the early Slime Language era. The Thug you need to understand for this story is the Thug of 2026, the post-prison version, the man navigating one of the most impossible post-incarceration situations in the history of rap. Here's what happened. Thug was arrested in May 2022 as part of the YSL RICO case, Georgia's longest criminal trial ever, where prosecutors argued that YSL Records was not just a music label but a criminal street gang. He sat in Cobb County Jail for over 2.5 years. Then, on October 31st, 2024, Halloween, he accepted a plea deal. 15 years probation, banned from the metro Atlanta area for a decade, prohibited from making gang-related music, prohibited from having contact with known gang members, and a backloaded 20-year sentence that activates the moment he violates any of those conditions. That's the situation Young Thug is living in right now. He's free, but he's walking on glass every single day. Atlanta is his city, and he cannot go there. YSL is his label, and he can't mention it in gang-related contexts in his music. The people he built his world with are either convicted, estranged, or publicly beefing with him, and yet, Thug is still moving. He dropped Ooh Why Scooty in September 2025. He's been performing, he's building. But here's what's important to understand. Thug came home and almost immediately started settling scores. Days after his release, he posted, then deleted a shot at Gunna, his former YSL golden boy, the man many believe cooperated in ways that impacted the case. Academics broke it down publicly, saying Thug had been warning Lil Baby and Lil Durk while still incarcerated that Gunna was no good. Then in September 2025, a diss track leaked, reportedly called Closing Arguments, where Thug went off on Gunna, Yak Gotti, Lil Woody, Slime Life Shawty, YSL Obama, YSL Slug, and more. He called them rats on record. He came home with a list. And throughout all of this, there has been a quiet but persistent tension developing between Thug's camp and the NBA Youngboy camp. Not open war, not confirmed public beef, just two massive movements with shared history, shared cultural proximity. Youngboy actually has an YSL chain that Thug gave him, but increasingly different trajectories and different energies. And the question has been building in the background for months. Are 4KT and YSL really aligned, or are they on a collision course? May 15th just answered that question. At 4:21 in the morning on May 15th, 2026, Say Cheese dropped the screenshot on X, and within minutes, the entire hip-hop internet froze. Because the message Herm posted wasn't vague, it wasn't coded, it wasn't a subliminal for fans to speculate about. It was a direct address with a direct message and a direct challenge. Here it is, word for word. At Thugger, one top say your bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway. How you wanna do it? Let me break this apart piece by piece because every single word is doing work here. At Thugger1, that's Young Thug's Instagram handle. Herm is not subliminally hinting. He is tagging Thug directly. He is making sure Thug sees it, making sure the algorithm picks it up, making sure there is zero deniability about who this message is for and who is sending it. This is a direct call out in front of millions of people. Top say, Top. That is NBA Youngboy's nickname within his circle. Top is not a random reference. This is Herm explicitly invoking YB's name and authority. He is not freelancing here. He is not going rogue. He is very deliberately saying, I am a messenger. I am here on behalf of Top. This is not Herm's beef. This is YB's message being delivered through Herm. That escalates the situation from a soldier's quarrel to a principled statement. Youngboy Never Broke Again, one of the most powerful independent artists in the history of rap, has looked at Young Thug and has an issue, and he sent his most loyal soldier to say so publicly. Your bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway. Here's where it gets genuinely historic in terms of rap disrespect. Slime is not just a word, it is Thug's word. Young Thug popularized slime as a term of endearment, brotherhood, and street authenticity. It's why his label is YSL, Young Stoner Life, yes, but slime is baked into the identity. It's why he built Slime Language 2. It's why his entire collective calls itself the Slime Nation. For over a decade, if you called yourself slime in hip-hop, you were tipping your hat to Thug's cultural foot. And Youngboy, through Herm, just took that word, turned it into a verdict and said, you don't qualify. Your beat ass ain't slime no more. You have been stripped of the one cultural title that has defined your entire legacy. That is not a diss. That is an execution. How you want to do it? And then this, the challenge. Clear, simple, terrifying in its directness. Not, we got issues, not, you better watch yourself. Not even a specific threat that can be argued away in court. Just, how do you want to handle this? Name your method, name your terms. We're here. Top said so. How you want to do it? The internet did not need to be told what this meant. Within hours, the post had spread to every major hip-hop platform. Comment sections were going insane. People who don't even regularly follow either camp were being pulled into the conversation because the sheer audacity of the message was impossible to ignore. And here is what made it even more loaded: the timing. Young Thug has just gotten out of a RICO case. He is on probation. He is banned from Atlanta. He has been publicly beefing with people from his own camp. His credibility in certain quarters has taken hits. And right when he is in the middle of trying to rebuild and reclaim the narrative about who he is and what YSL stands for, Youngboy's side shows up and says through a public post, "You ain't slime. How you want to do it?" It is the most precisely aimed shot you could take at a man in Thug's position. It goes directly at his identity. It comes from a direction he may not have fully anticipated. Not from a YSL internal rival, not from a label adversary, but from the 4KT camp, the most organized and powerful independent machine in rap right now. And it arrives when Thug's options for response are severely limited. Now here's where it gets crazy. The YSL side did not sit still. Before Thug himself even publicly addressed Herm's message, the YSL camp moved. People from Thug's circle came out and addressed Herm, and the energy from their side was not panic. It was not scrambling. It was composed, precise, and had the specific quality of people who feel fully backed and have no reason to feel threatened. They were saying, in essence, we see you, we hear what was said, now understand who you're talking to. And then young Thug entered the conversation himself. Thug called Herm a fan. Pause right there. In the street politics of hip-hop, calling someone a fan is one of the most surgical dismissals you can deploy. It's not just an insult, it's a denial of standing. Thug was saying, you are a spectator. You worship from the outside. You don't have the legitimacy or the authority to address me. You built your identity around riding for somebody else, and that makes you a fan, not a man who can step to me. The implication was that Herm had confused loyalty with relevance, had confused dedication to YB with the ability to pull up on Jeffrey Williams. It was cold, it was calculated, and on the surface, it was classic Thug, taking a direct challenge and refusing to validate it, instead choosing to dismiss the challenger as beneath him. The internet split immediately. 4KT fans were furious at the dismissal. YSL fans were calling it the perfect response. The neutral observers, the ones just watching the scoreboard, recognized that Thug had just poured gasoline on an already burning situation because you don't get to call the messenger a fan and then act like the message doesn't exist. By calling Herm a fan, Thug essentially said, I don't recognize YB's authority to send someone to address me. That is not a small statement. That is a challenge right back. And by 1:56 in the afternoon of the same day, just hours after Thug called him a fan, Herm posted his response. You know what's up from here? 7 words. And everybody who has ever been in the streets, in these kind of situations, in this culture, heard those 7 words the exact same way. That phrase has one meaning. It's not open to interpretation. It's not a metaphor. You know what's up from here is what you say when words are finished and the next move is something else entirely. Think about the position Herm is in at that moment. He came with a direct message from top. He tagged Thug publicly. He delivered it clean, no ambiguity, no hiding behind code. And then the man he addressed called him a fan in front of the same millions of people watching. He got publicly embarrassed. He got publicly dismissed. And he had one of 2 choices. Go quiet and let that dismissal become the narrative, or double down and make clear that he is not afraid of anything that comes with his position. He chose to double down, with 7 words that left nothing to the imagination. And here's why that matters beyond just the internet. First, Herm not backing down confirms that Top's message was not a bluff. When you send a soldier to deliver a message and that soldier gets dismissed and still says, you know what's up from here, it means the message had backing behind it. It means there is infrastructure and intention behind what was said. A real bluff gets quiet when it's challenged. This didn't get quiet. Second, and this is the part that most people are sleeping on, young Thug is in a genuinely dangerous legal position to escalate this. He's on 15 years probation. He cannot associate with known gang members. He cannot engage in situations that look like gang activity or threats. He has a 20-year suspended sentence hanging over his head. Every post he makes, every association he publicly claims, every confrontation he enters, it's all being watched. The moment this beef looks like it's going from internet smoke to something real, Thug is the one who has the most to lose by escalating. That asymmetry is significant because what Herm and the 4KT side seem to understand is that Thug cannot fully respond the way his instincts would tell him to. They can be aggressive, they can escalate, they can send messages and double down and move with energy. And Thug, for all his power and all his history, is operating with one hand tied behind his back legally. He has to be smart, he has to be strategic, he cannot just react. And the 4KT camp knows this. They've been watching Thug navigate these constraints for months. They know exactly what he can and can't do. And choosing this moment, when Thug is rebuilding, when YSL is fractured, when Thug is publicly at war with multiple former associates, to send this specific message about slime status is not an accident. Third, the "ain't slime no more anyway" line deserves its own analysis, because that word, anyway, is doing enormous work. Herm didn't just say you ain't slime, he said you ain't slime anyway. The anyway is dismissive. It's like saying this was already true before you even knew it. We didn't decide this because you did something. This is just the reality. You being stripped of that title is not news to us, it's just news to you. That casual dismissal is more cutting than a direct accusation. It's the rap equivalent of saying we already moved on without you. You just haven't caught up yet. That's what Youngboy sent to Young Thug, and that's what Herm put on record in front of the whole internet. Let's pull back and look at where each of these camps actually stands in 2026, because the context of their situations is as important as the words that were exchanged. Young Thug is fighting one of the most complex public image battles in recent hip-hop history. He walked out of the plea deal technically free, but contextually caged, banned from Atlanta for a decade, on probation, watching his YSL family be scattered and divided, coming home to a rap landscape that had shifted enormously in the 2+ years he was locked up. He's resilient. Nobody who knows what Thug has survived could deny that. But he's also dealing with fractures everywhere. Gunna is estranged. The Closing Arguments diss track made clear he views multiple former associates as betrayers. Rich Homie Quan, a man he had deep history with, died while Thug was claiming he was about to testify against him. The internal wars of YSL have been loud, and yet he is still creating. UY Scooty came out, he's still performing, he's still commanding attention. His core fan base has not abandoned him. But when you're on probation and publicly at war with half of your own former circle, and then a camp as organized and powerful as 4KT decides to step to your neck, you are not operating from a position of full strength. Now look at the 4KT side. NBA, Youngboy just came off the Massa tour. 40 consecutive sold-out shows, over 500,000 tickets sold, $70 million in revenue.
That over 500,000 tickets have been sold for the rapper's Massa tour to date, and box office gross figures will surpass over $75 million across the 45 sold-out shows.
His Dallas show at American Airlines Center set a personal attendance record. His Barclays Center show in New York became his single highest grossing night at $1.9 million. His streaming dominance is untouched. His fan base, the most passionate, most mobilized, most organized fan base in all of contemporary rap, is at full force. His camp is unified. His operation is clean. There are no major public snitching allegations circulating about NBA Youngboy's circle. There's no internal beef spilling out publicly. The contrast could not be more stark. And that contrast is exactly what makes the timing of Herm's message so strategic. This wasn't sent when YB was struggling. This was sent from a position of maximum power, right after one of the most successful independent rap tours in American history, at a moment when YSL is publicly fractured. That's not coincidence, that's timing. The street's been watching this dynamic build for months. The feeling in certain circles has been that Thug's post-prison behavior, the social media confrontations, the beefs with former allies, the aggressive online presence despite his legal constraints, was eventually going to cause him to bump against a camp that had no reason to stand down. And in NBA Youngboy's camp, there was never going to be a reason to stand down. Here's the real tea. What Herm's message ultimately communicates is that the 4KT side has decided that Thug's slime card is revoked, not because of music, not because of a rap beef, but because of how he has carried himself in the eyes of people who have been watching. Your bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway is a moral judgment, not just a music industry shot. It's saying the things you've done, the way you've moved, the people you've gone at, Top sees it, and the verdict is that you no longer qualify for the brotherhood that your own cultural legacy is built on. That is existential level disrespect. Y'all need to hear this part because this situation is bigger than two individuals and bigger than one exchange. The 4KT versus YSL dynamic has been one of the most quietly significant geopolitical alignments in modern rap. On the surface, these two camps had shared history, shared respect, shared cultural proximity. YB has an YSL chain. Thug advocated for YB's freedom in 2021. At one point, there was genuine love between these worlds, but in rap, and especially in street-rooted rap, love and alliance are two completely different currencies. And what May 15th confirmed is that whatever alliance existed between these camps is gone, or at minimum, the 4KT side has decided it's gone and has put that decision on record. Now think about what that means for the culture. YSL and 4KT are not just music labels, they are movements. They have real infrastructure, real loyalty structures, real people behind them. And when two movements of this size and significance go from shared proximity to open confrontation, the ripple effects touch everyone connected to both of them. Rappers who have been friendly with both sides now have to navigate carefully. Features and collaborations between the two camps don't happen in the same way. The social fabric between Atlanta and Baton Rouge rap culture, which has historically been intertwined, gets more complicated. There's also the question of what Thug can actually do from here. He called Herm a fan. Herm said, "You know what's up from here. Now what?" If Thug escalates further, he risks bringing legal heat on himself in a situation where he literally cannot afford legal heat. If he goes quiet, it looks like he got barked at by a soldier and couldn't respond. If he addresses it musically, there are restrictions on what kind of music he can make. He's in a box that the 4KT side put him in very deliberately. And here's the most important thing to understand. The "Ain't Slime No More" line is not just personal. It's a statement about legacy. Young Thug built slime culture from nothing. It became global. It became the vocabulary of a generation of rappers. And now the most commercially dominant camp in the culture has publicly said that the man who built it doesn't live up to the standard anymore. Whether you agree with that verdict or not, that statement is now part of the public record. That's what people will point to. That's what future conversations about Thug's reputation will have to reckon with. Real recognize real, and right now, from the 4KT side's perspective, they don't recognize what they're seeing. What happens next is genuinely unknown. This could get squashed. Somebody makes a call, cooler heads prevail, both sides find a reason to dead it. That happens in rap. It happens especially when both parties have legal situations that make escalation genuinely life-changing. There's also the possibility that this is only the public face of something much deeper that hasn't fully surfaced yet. There may be more specific grievances, more history, more incidents behind this that neither camp has fully disclosed. There's the possibility that music comes from this, a 4KT diss record, a response from YSL, and suddenly we're in a full-scale war between the two biggest independent movements in rap. And there is the one possibility that nobody wants to say out loud, that this moves entirely off the internet, and if that happens, nothing good follows. Not for the people involved, not for their families, not for the fans, not for the culture. But here is what is confirmed, documented, and on the record right now. NBA Youngboy, through his homie Hermthaw Black Sheep, looked at Young Thug and said, "Your bitch ass ain't slime no more anyway. How you wanna do it?" Young Thug called Herm a fan. Herm said, "You know what's up from here." And none of those three statements have been walked back. None of them have been deleted. None of them have been contextualized away. They are all on the internet, time-stamped May 15th, 2026. The 4KT camp just told Thug he doesn't own his own legacy anymore, and they challenged him to do something about it. This is the 4KT and YSL beef. It's not a music beef, it's not a clout beef, it's a cultural confrontation between two movements at completely different points in their trajectories. One peaking, one rebuilding, and it just went fully public. And if you think this is the last chapter in this story, you have not been paying attention. Stay locked in. We'll be right here when the next move drops. Drop your thoughts right now. Does Thug respond? Can he respond given his probation situation? And who do you think has the upper hand in this situation going forward? 4KT or YSL? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't. You already know we bring you the real tea. No filter, no cap, every single time.
Bitch, you flop with your bitch ass. I ain't letting you slide, and they better not get it up. Fuck you, you old ass bitch. You one in my antique closet, nigga. Fuck you. You thought you was gonna count me out too. Nigga, you a hoe. Nah, I quit, Offset. On my daughter, I ain't gonna respond to none of them bitch ass nigga no more. Tell them niggas fuck with me. Fuck all them bitch ass niggas.
Bodies are already dropping in this beef. That the situation between NBA Youngboy and Future has moved so far beyond diss tracks and Instagram rants that people connected to both sides are ending up in the dirt. That this is not rap beef anymore. This is something deadlier. That the threatening language, the diss records, the public callouts aimed directly at Atlanta, and the chaos surrounding both camps have escalated to a point where real lives are on the line. The streets are talking, and what they are saying is that this feud has already gotten somebody killed. Yo, what's good, fam? Today we are breaking down one of the most chaotic, unpredictable, and genuinely alarming situations in hip-hop right now. We are going to walk you through exactly how this feud exploded into existence, why the internet reacted the way it did, what Youngboy actually said and did across multiple live streams and social media rants, what that diss track revealed, and what Future's complete silence through all of it might really mean. Because when you lay every piece of this story out side by side, you start to understand why so many people are calling this situation deadly and why nobody seems to know how it ends. Let's get into it. To understand why a beef between NBA Youngboy and Future immediately sent shockwaves through hip-hop, you have to understand who these two men actually are within the culture. Because this is not a beef between two mid-level artists competing for the same lane. This is a conflict between two of the most significant and most loyal fan bases in the entire genre. NBA Youngboy, born Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, built one of the most devoted followings in the history of modern rap without the traditional industry machinery behind him. No massive radio push, no major label cosign at the start. Just a relentless volume of music and a raw emotional honesty that connected with millions of fans who felt like Youngboy was speaking directly to them. By the time he hit his mid-20s, he had racked up over 100 entries on the Billboard Hot 100, making him the youngest artist in history to hit that milestone. His streaming numbers have consistently placed him among the most consumed artists on the planet, and through all the legal trouble, the house arrests, the public meltdowns, and the online controversies, his fan base has never wavered. They are not casual listeners, they are deeply invested in Kentrell as a person, which means every feud he enters immediately becomes a cultural event. Future, born Nevadius Demoon Wilburn in Atlanta, Georgia, represents a different kind of legacy. He did not just make music, he invented a sound, the melodic, auto-tune drenched trap energy that defined the 2010s traces its DNA directly back to his work. Mixtape runs like Dirty Sprite 2 and Beast Mode, albums like DS2 and Evil, and by 2024, back-to-back Billboard 200 #1s with Metro Boomin'. We Don't Trust You and We Still Don't Trust You cemented him as one of the most dominant forces the genre has ever produced. He also built free bands into a legitimate label with real artists and real loyalty, including Doughboy, whose name would become part of this exact story. Future's influence over Atlanta runs so deep that when Youngboy sent a direct message to the city alongside his diss track, everybody understood what that meant. He was not just talking to Future, he was poking the entire institution. So when these two names ended up in the same sentence as the word beef, the internet stopped everything it was doing. Now here's the thing that makes this feud particularly strange. Youngboy and Future were not enemies who had been building to this moment for years. They were collaborators. As recently as 2020, the two had worked together, with Youngboy appearing on Future's album High Off Life on the track Trillionaire. Before that, the two had connected on Youngboy's earlier record, Right or Wrong. There was no public falling out that fans could point to. No documented incident, no diss records going back years. By all outward appearances, these two were simply artists who had been in the same orbit and moved on, the way 1,000 collaborations in hip-hop eventually fade into the background. But Youngboy had clearly been carrying something, and by February 2026, the first real signal of that buried tension finally surfaced publicly. Youngboy took to X and posted a confident challenge that read something like a general declaration of war against the entire industry. He wrote that whoever his fans thought was the best rapper alive should get ready for a song-for-song battle. Loser never raps again. When a fan in the comments specifically brought up Future as someone who might be able to hang with him in that kind of showdown, Youngboy's response was brief and pointed. He said something to the effect of, "You smoke more dope than me." It was dismissive in the specific way that only lands when there is something real underneath it. Fans noticed. They filed it away, but at the time it still registered as a relatively minor moment in the ongoing catalog of Youngboy's social media activity. That changed dramatically in the first week of July 2026. Future had been building toward the release of The Real Me, his 10th solo studio album, and his first solo full-length since I Never Liked You dropped back in 2022. He had been teasing the project since June, telling fans on X that he had the album of the century coming. The anticipation was real. Future dropping a solo album with no guest features, 22 tracks, all Pluto, no assists, was already generating significant conversation. And then the night before the album dropped, Youngboy logged onto his Instagram story and turned the entire internet upside down. On the night of July 9th, 2026, Youngboy posted a video rant in which he told the world in the most colorful language possible that a certain rapper releasing music that night night better not flop. He did not name Future directly, but the timing left nobody guessing. The entire culture immediately understood who he was talking about, and what made it more alarming than a typical rap provocation was the energy behind it. Youngboy was not talking the way artists talk when they are being playful with a rival. He sounded genuinely agitated, like something had been sitting inside him for a long time, and this album drop was the match that lit it. The internet immediately went into full analytical mode. Clips were being shared across TikTok within minutes. X was flooded with reaction threads. YouTube reaction channels were going live. Every comment section on every hip-hop platform turned into a debate about what Youngboy was actually referencing, whether Future would respond, and whether this was entertainment or something more serious. But then something unexpected happened. Offset stepped in. During an Instagram live session, Offset, the former Migos member and one of Atlanta's most respected figures, appeared to have gotten Youngboy on the phone at a moment when the Baton Rouge rapper was clearly in his feelings. Offset did what older brothers in the culture do. He talked to Youngboy straight, told him to focus on his family, on his business, on the bigger picture, and in a moment that genuinely surprised people who know Youngboy's public reputation, Kentrell actually listened. He acknowledged that he had been letting his emotions get the better of him. He admitted on that live stream that he had been crashing out. He said he had let something petty get under his skin, and he apologized to Offset for putting him in the position and to Future directly. He said it clearly, "I apologize. I flashed out." For a brief moment, the culture breathed. And then, within hours, Youngboy was back on Instagram with Future's name tagged directly in the post. He called him a, quote, bitch-ass nigga. He accused Future of flopping. He said Future used to try to buy things from his antique closet, a specific reference that nobody could fully decode, but that clearly meant something to Youngboy on a personal level. He said Future was old. He said he was not going to let him slide. And just when people thought that was the final word, Youngboy vowed to stop responding to what he called bitch-ass niggas, suggested he was done, and then dropped the diss track. What Da What landed on the internet on July 11th, 2026, strategically timed in the middle of Jay-Z's historic show at Yankee Stadium, which had the entire culture's attention focused somewhere else entirely. Whether that timing was calculated or simply a product of Youngboy's impulse-first approach to releasing music is debatable. What was not debatable was what was on the record. Youngboy came with fire on that track. He did not ease into it or leave anything open to interpretation. He went straight at Pluto's reputation, his status, his credibility in the streets. Among the bars drawing the most immediate reaction online were lines where Youngboy told Future to his face that he would catch him bad and stretch him, and references to having younger artists around him who would handle problems for free. That kind of language, in a rap context but delivered with the heat Youngboy brings to everything he touches, sent the internet into a completely different level of conversation. This was no longer fans debating who had the better discography. This had shifted into something that people were watching much more carefully, and then Youngboy extended the war beyond just Future. After dropping the diss track, he left a comment on a post featuring Doughboy, one of Future's free band signees, that was as direct as anything he had posted all week. He told Doughboy to keep talking with his hoe ass. Doughboy did not back down. He took to his own Instagram story and said publicly that if Youngboy wanted to bump, they could bump. That specific word, bump, carries weight in street culture that transcends a social media exchange. When Doughboy said that, fans who had been watching this situation from a distance as a rap beef started asking more serious questions about what the real stakes were. That is the moment when the internet narrative shifted from beef to something the algorithms could not get enough of. The framing changed. Every TikTok, every YouTube breakdown, every podcast discussion started using the same language. The word deadly started appearing everywhere. Hip-hop blog headlines asked whether the situation had escalated beyond music. Reaction channels dissected every lyric in what, looking for specifics about what Youngboy was really communicating. The viral machine had locked onto this story, and it was not letting go. To understand why this beef hit differently than a typical rap provocation, you have to go back further than July 2026. You have to go back to November 2020, to a parking lot in Atlanta, and to a name that still carries enormous weight on both sides of this situation: King Von. King Von was Lil Durk's closest friend and one of the most promising young rappers in the country when he was shot and killed outside an Atlanta hookah lounge following a confrontation between his crew and associates of Quando Rondo. Quando Rondo was, and remains, closely affiliated with NBA Youngboy. That connection immediately placed Youngboy's camp in the center of one of the most painful moments in recent hip-hop history, and it ignited a feud between Youngboy and Lil Durk that played out publicly and dangerously for years. They traded diss records. They traded threats spelled out in cash on social media. At one point, Youngboy reportedly got into a physical altercation inside a federal facility because another inmate shouted out Durk's OTF crew. The wound between these two camps never fully healed, even when both sides made gestures toward moving past it. Now here's where Future enters that equation in a way that most people have not fully connected. Future and Lil Durk are part of the same Atlanta ecosystem. They run in overlapping circles. They share industry relationships, mutual associates, and the kind of quiet alignment that exists between major players in the same city who have never had reason to be enemies. When Youngboy looks at Future, he does not just see a rapper from Atlanta. He sees someone embedded in the same network as a man he has unresolved and deeply personal history with. And Youngboy himself confirmed during his social media venting that the problem with Future is not something he is willing to spell out completely. He said Future does hoe-ass stuff behind the scenes. He said there are things Pluto does privately that he cannot respect. He never named exactly what those things are, but the implication, given the history, is that Future's proximity to people Youngboy has smoke with is at least part of what is driving this. That is the theory the streets have been running with, and it is the most credible explanation anyone has produced because Youngboy's own words point directly at it without ever making it fully explicit. That ambiguity is intentional or instinctive. It is hard to know which with Kentrell. But either way, it has kept fans speculating for weeks, trying to decode what the real root of this is. Youngboy himself acknowledged his own emotional pattern during the Offset conversation. He said the words out loud. He had been letting emotional stuff get to him. He had been crashing out. He admitted that something petty had gotten under his skin and spiraled. The fact that he recognized it did not stop him from doing it again within hours. That cycle, heat, clarity, reversal, escalation, is exactly why people who follow him closely watch these moments with a kind of anxious attention that goes beyond typical hip-hop beef observation. Because with Youngboy, the fire never fully goes out, it just waits for more fuel. And that brings us to the question everybody was really asking once what started circulating and Doughboy issued his challenge. Not whether this was a beef, not whether Youngboy meant what he said, but whether the situation had already moved beyond what either rapper was publicly acknowledging, because that is where the bodies dropping narrative came from. Once Doughboy stepped up and Youngboy accepted, publicly on Instagram in front of millions of people, fans who understood the culture around both camps started doing math. Youngboy is not a theoretical figure. He has real history with real situations that went real bad. Quando Rondo, his close associate, is directly connected to one of the most consequential moments of violence in recent hip-hop. The Free Bands camp has its own reputation and its own loyalties. When two organizations with those kinds of backgrounds end up in public conflict, the fear is never just about the rappers themselves. It is about everything and everyone surrounding them. Fans started speculating that the call-outs, the diss track lyrics, the direct challenge between Doughboy and Youngboy, and the message sent to Atlanta were not just online noise, that somewhere in the background, away from Instagram stories and reaction videos, the situation had already produced consequences that nobody was talking about publicly. That is where the deadly framing took hold. Not from anything either rapper confirmed, but from the weight of what both of their histories implied was possible. Meanwhile, Future said nothing. Not a post, not a story, not a cryptic lyric, not a side comment in an interview. Future released The Real Me, watched his album get somewhat overshadowed in the news cycle by Youngboy's meltdown, and proceeded to let his music speak while Youngboy spoke at increasingly high volume about him. Some fans read Future's silence as the behavior of a man who knows his legacy is too secure to take the bait. A rapper who has 10 solo studio albums, who has changed the sonic DNA of an entire generation of hip-hop, who just dropped a Billboard-topping solo project with no features, does not necessarily need to engage engage with someone who is clearly in an emotional spiral. Others read the silence as calculation, as Future quietly working on something that would say more than any Instagram story ever could. The contrast between the two men's public approaches told its own story. Youngboy, emotionally raw and moving at the speed of impulse, dropped a diss track, retracted an apology, extended the beef to free bands artists, and produced a week of non-stop content for every hip-hop outlet on the internet. Future moved through all of it like the eye of the storm, still, unbothered, either because he genuinely did not care or because he understood something Youngboy's approach does not account for, that sometimes the most powerful statement is the one you do not make. The internet, predictably, could not get enough of either posture. The algorithm rewards emotional escalation, and Youngboy's behavior across those 48 hours was a perfect engine for it. Every new post was a new piece of content. Every reversal was a new angle. When fans started digging through old interviews and past lyrics trying to trace the origin of Youngboy's frustration with Future, that created a different kind of content entirely, the kind of forensic analysis that keeps communities engaged for weeks. X was running threads tying the February Verzoos comment to the July explosion. YouTube channels that normally cover both artists' music pivoted entirely to the beef. TikTok was flooded with timelines and breakdowns. The framing of this situation as deadly was not created by either rapper. It was created by the ecosystem surrounding them. Hip-hop media has learned that nothing drives traffic like the suggestion of real stakes. Once a few channels used the word deadly in their titles, the algorithm rewarded them. Other channels followed. The framing spread. And suddenly the narrative that had started as a one-sided Instagram rant became a full-scale viral event with its own momentum, pulling millions of people into a story still being written in real time. When Youngboy first posted that cryptic Instagram story on July 9th, a few thousand people saw it. Within hours, it had branched into 5 separate stories: the rant, the offset intervention, the apology, the retraction, the diss track, each generating its own content wave independently. That is the architecture of modern hip-hop beef. It does not move in a straight line, it multiplies. Youngboy's history contributed to that framing feeling plausible rather than sensational. He is not an artist about whom the idea of real escalation feels far-fetched. He has spent time behind bars. He has had serious legal entanglements. The people around him and the situations he has navigated throughout his life are not the stuff of industry gossip. They are real, and when a man with that kind of biography drops a record with lyrics about catching someone bad and stretching them, and then sends a direct message to Atlanta about it, people do not automatically assume he is speaking metaphorically. Future's biography adds a different kind of weight. He is not just a rapper with a fan base. He runs free bands. He has an entire organization around him, with artists who have their own reputations and their own loyalties. When Doughboy stepped up publicly and offered to fight Youngboy, that was not an isolated moment. That was a member of Future's camp demonstrating that the free band's crew takes shots at their label heads seriously. And when Youngboy responded to Doughboy by accepting the invitation, the situation moved another step beyond the realm of just music. By the time What was making its way through every corner of the internet, the question was no longer whether this was a real beef or just noise. The question was what came next. Future has the resources, the experience, and the catalog to respond musically if he chooses to. He has done it before. When his name has come up in conversations he did not like, he has found ways to address it without ever appearing to be on defense. A Future diss record aimed at Youngboy, if it ever arrives, would be one of the most consumed pieces of music in hip-hop immediately upon release. The anticipation alone would be enormous, but Future may also simply let the moment pass. He has maintained his silence through everything Youngboy has thrown at him, and in doing so he has avoided adding oxygen to a fire that may eventually burn itself out. Youngboy's energy comes in waves. He escalates, he crashes out, he apologizes, he reverses, he escalates again, and then eventually the cycle moves on to the next thing. That pattern is well established. Future may understand it better than most, and his non-response might be the most strategically intelligent move in this entire situation. There is also a generational layer to this that nobody has fully addressed out loud. Youngboy is 26 years old, Future is 42. When Youngboy calls him old on a diss track and questions whether he is really street credible, he is not just talking about this one beef. He is participating in a conversation that happens in hip-hop every single generation, where the next wave challenges the assumptions of the one before it. Future built his legacy in an era when mystique and restraint were still viable positions for a major artist to hold. Youngboy came up in an era where constant, unfiltered access to the artist is the product. Those two philosophies are almost incompatible, and this feud puts that tension on full display. Future's response, or deliberate non-response, to that challenge is itself a statement about how he sees his own place in the culture. He does not need to prove himself to a 26-year-old from Baton Rouge. His catalog does that for him. But Youngboy's willingness to make that challenge publicly tells you everything about how he sees himself and how little institutional respect means to him when he is in his feelings. At the end of the day, what the NBA Youngboy and Future situation reveals is something bigger than one feud. It reveals how hip-hop beef functions in 2026, how quickly it can move from a late-night Instagram story to a full-scale viral event, how the algorithm turns emotional moments into content engines, how ambiguity keeps millions of people engaged because a mystery that has not been fully explained is always more compelling than one that has. We still do not know exactly what Future did behind the scenes that bothered Youngboy so much. We still do not know whether Youngboy's stated explanation that he just wanted to mess up the album rollout is the real reason or a cover for something deeper. We still do not know whether Future is going to respond musically, respond in the streets through his people, or simply continue to say nothing. What we do know is this: two of the most significant artists of their generation who once recorded music together are now publicly at odds in a way that neither of them has completely articulated. A diss track with lines about stretching someone has been released and is circulating. A Free Bands artist has publicly challenged Youngboy to fight, and Youngboy accepted. Youngboy has apologized, retracted the apology, dropped the record, and then told the internet he is done, all within roughly 48 hours. And Future is watching all of it in complete silence, which might be the most unsettling detail of this entire story. The internet called this deadly for a reason. Maybe they were being dramatic, maybe the whole thing cools off next week and becomes a footnote in both artists' timelines, or maybe what we are watching right now is just the beginning of something that neither side has fully decided to see through yet. In hip-hop, those are the situations that tend to get the most dangerous. Not the beefs that announce themselves loudly from the start, but the ones where one man keeps talking and the other one never says a word. What are your thoughts on where this goes? Drop it in the comments and click on the video on screen for more breakdowns just like this one.
To a lot of youth in different cities that you stopped at, what's your take, because I think you've been early on this, on, 21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
I don't even fuck like that. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets. I ain't gonna know that pussy ass shit.
Your bitch ass up. Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think cause a nigga trying to change that, man, y'all niggas sit down.
Yup, you just heard 21 Savage go off after being called out the Great Slime himself, and it looks like this dumb beef isn't ending anytime soon. See, we're about to bread down everything in this beef and how things are escalating fast to the point bodies might start dropping soon. So what the hell happened? Let me break it down for you because this story got layers. Alright, so to understand how we got here, we gotta rewind a bit. 21 Savage been on this whole fuck the streets campaign for a minute now, right? My man's been traveling to different cities, talking to the youth, trying to get them to leave the gang life alone. On the surface, that sounds positive. Can't nobody hate on trying to save lives type shit. But here's where it gets tricky. When you come from where 21 come from, East Atlanta Zone 6, real street shit, and then you start telling other people to leave the streets alone, some people gonna feel a way about that. It's like, who gave you the authority to tell the next man how to move? You feel me? Now 21, he been in these streets for real. This ain't no cap. My man got caught lacking on his 21st birthday, took 6 shots, and his mans didn't make it. That's where the name 21 Savage really came from. It ain't just no catchy rap name, it's memorial shit. So when he talk about leaving the streets alone, he's speaking from experience. He done seen too much, lost too many people, and now he trying to break the cycle. Let me give y'all some more context on where 21 really coming from with this. See, back in 2013, when he was still running the streets heavy, he lost his brother Quantaveus to gun violence. Then he lost his friend Larry to the streets. These wasn't just random people. These was his day ones, people he grew up with, people he loved. When you experience that type of loss repeatedly, it changes you fundamentally. 21 talks about how he used to glorify the street shit in his early music. Songs like No Heart and X was straight up about that life, no filter. But as he got older, made more money, and lost more people, he started seeing the bigger picture. He realized he had a responsibility, especially to the young kids who look up to him. The Fuck the Streets movement didn't just pop up overnight. This has been building for the last couple years. It really started gaining momentum when 21 began doing more community work in Atlanta. He started the 21 Savage Bank Account campaign, where he was teaching financial literacy to kids in the hood. Then he launched the Leading by Example Foundation, focusing on helping youth in underserved communities. But what really set this off was when he started being more vocal about it in interviews and on social media. He wasn't just doing the work quietly no more. He was actively telling young people that the gang life ain't it. He was saying, fuck your set, fuck your block, that shit don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Now, when you're doing that, you gotta understand how that lands in different cities. In Atlanta, where 21 from, people mostly received it well because they seen his journey. They know he really lived it, so they respect his right to speak on it. But when he took this message to other cities, Chicago, Louisiana, California, the reception was mixed. Some people appreciated it. OGs who done been through the wars and lost everything understood what he was trying to do. But younger cats, the ones still active in the streets, they felt like he was invalidating their struggle. Like he was saying their life don't matter or what they going through ain't real. Now, for y'all who don't know, YB and 21 actually had history before all this. They was cool, respected each other's music, no issues. Back in 2019, 2020, you could see them showing love on social media. No beef, no tension. They was two of the biggest rappers in the game doing their thing separately but with mutual respect. But there's something else y'all need to understand. When the whole Durk and Youngboy situation was going on, 21 was seen taking Durk's side. That already created some tension in the background, even if they wasn't going at each other directly. Let me break down that situation real quick because it's important to understanding how we got here. The Durk and YB beef is one of the most serious beefs in hip-hop right now. It ain't just rap. People really died behind this shit. When Von got killed in Atlanta, that intensified everything.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
And 21, being from Atlanta and being cool with Durk, was in a tough position. Now, 21 never directly dissed YB or got involved in the beef publicly, but there was subtle things. Being seen with Durk at certain times, showing support on social media to YB and his camp that could have been seen as picking a side, even if 21 wasn't trying to make it about that. So you got that underlying tension already brewing. Then 21 comes out with this fuck the streets movement, and to someone like YB who's still very much in the thick of everything, that might feel like some hypocritical shit. Like, you was just supporting one side of a street beef, now you talking about fuck the streets? Now let's talk about where Youngboy coming from, because it's important to understand both sides of this. YB is 25 years old and he been through more shit than most people go through in a lifetime. He done been shot at, stabbed, arrested multiple times, lost friends, and been fighting cases for years. For him, the streets ain't something he can just walk away from even if he wanted to. He's still got pending situations, people still trying to kill him, and he's still got loyalty to his people who in the trenches. When you in that position, somebody telling you fuck the streets can feel dismissive of your reality. It's like easy for you to say when you already made it out and you ain't got the same problems I got. Plus, YB never been the type to switch up his message or try to be politically correct. He always kept it 100 about where he at and what he about. That's part of why his fans love him. He don't sugarcoat nothing. So when YB gets asked about 21's fuck the streets movement in this recent interview, you can tell he already got some feelings brewing. The interviewer brings it up, talking about how 21 been early on this message, trying to reach the youth and all that, and YB, man, he did not hold back. I don't give a fuck about that, YB said straight up. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets, I ain't on all that pussy ass shit. Yo, when I first heard that, I was like, damn. Because that's not just disagreeing with the message, that's a direct shot at 21's character. He basically called the whole movement pussy ass shit. That's personal, gang. But YB didn't stop there. He kept going, saying people confused about what the message really is. He talking about how it ain't about not protecting yourself, but at the same time, he making it clear he ain't with what 21 promoting. Then he hit them with this line that really set it off. That's the narrative somebody pushing right now, and I'm pushing my narrative type shit. Translation? Fuck what 21 talking about, I'm doing me. The way YB said it with that emphasis on my narrative, let everybody know this wasn't just a casual disagreement. This was him drawing a line in the sand, saying he fundamentally opposed to what 21 promoting. Now, when that interview dropped, the internet went crazy. People was picking sides immediately. Some was like, YB speaking facts, you can't tell people how to live. Others was defending 21 like, nah, he just trying to save lives, what's wrong with that? Twitter was going insane. You had YB fans saying 21 was fake woke and only doing the positive shit for image. You had 21 fans saying YB was promoting violence and negativity. It got toxic real quick, as these things always do. But here's what really got everybody's attention: the timing of all this. Because just when people thought it couldn't get no messier, 21 Savage decided to respond. Now this is where we gotta pay close attention, because what 21 said wasn't directly at YB, but the streets knew better. Let me paint the picture for y'all. 21 hopped on social media looking heated. My man was in his feelings for real, and he started going off about people saying his name and talking about the streets. Now, technically, he was responding to Fivio Foreign, who had been dissing him, but the timing, right after YB's comments? Come on now, y'all know how this works. See, Fivio had made some comments about 21 earlier, saying he wasn't really street like that and questioning his credibility, but that was relatively minor compared to what YB said. So when 21 came out with this response, people immediately started connecting dots. 21 started off strong. Stop saying my name. Don't think because a nigga trying to change that, man. Y'all sit down somewhere, man, straight up. You could hear the frustration in his voice. This is somebody who really trying to do something positive and getting criticized for it from multiple angles. But then he really got into it, and this is where you could tell he was addressing more than just one person. He said, if you walking around with a 38, don't say nothing to him about the streets. If you 35 or older and been trying to rap since you was a teenager, don't talk to him about the streets. Now that part, that could low-key apply to Fivio. But then 21 said something that made everybody's ears perk up. Y'all niggas keep talking about all this fuck nigga street shit. Savage this, savage that, savage this. Savage shot one of y'all in real life. Y'all know this. Stop playing. Yo, that's a reminder to everybody. Don't get it twisted because he on some positive shit now. 21 really been about that action, and he wants people to remember that before they get too comfortable dissing him. Then 21 went even harder. Don't think because Savage on some positive shit that is, oh, let's talk about Savage every day. Let's talk about Savage all day. Nah, this ain't that. Y'all still get your ass fucked up, straight up. That's a direct warning. He's saying just because I'm trying to be better don't mean I'm sweet. Don't mean you can keep poking at me without consequences. But here's what really got me. 21 went deeper into why he feels the way he does about all this. He said something that low-key exposed a lot of these rappers talking about the streets. Y'all ain't seen enough in the street to even feel how I feel about the street. That's where the disconnect come in at. I don't give a fuck about what your partners did. I don't give a fuck about what your hood did. I'm talking to y'all. Y'all as individuals, y'all ain't did nothing in the street. Now that's different, because what 21 basically saying is a lot of these niggas talking about street shit ain't really been through it themselves. They just around it, or they know people who about it, but they personally ain't lived it. And because they ain't lived it, they don't understand why he trying to get people out. This is a crucial point that a lot of people miss. There's a difference between being from the streets and being in the streets. There's a difference between knowing people who did things and actually doing things yourself. And 21 is calling that out. He kept going. Y'all ain't cried enough. Y'all ain't lost enough. Straight up. Man, you could feel the pain in that statement. That's somebody who done really lost people, who done really had to bury his friends, telling other people they don't got the credentials to speak on what he doing. Then he hit them with the reality check. Y'all better stick to rapping, man. Basically saying y'all ain't built for the conversation y'all trying to have with me. Y'all should stay in y'all lane and just make music, because when it comes to real street politics and the weight of that life, y'all ain't qualified to speak on it. And here's where it gets even crazier. 21 started talking about people who claim to be street, but you ain't seen them in 30 years. People who be gangsters on Area 59, which is basically saying y'all doing this shit from remote locations, not really in the mix no more. Y'all be gangsters on Area 59, man. Remote location ass niggas. Ain't seen y'all in 30 years. That's him calling out the internet gangsters, the people who talk tough from a safe distance but ain't really active in their hood no more. Now let me break down something else that's important to this whole situation. When 21 says, how the fuck can you tell a nigga from a whole another state what they is? You don't even know. He's touching on something real. There's always been this thing in hip-hop where people from one city try to tell people from another city how to move, and it never goes well. 21 is from Atlanta. YB is from Baton Rouge. These are two completely different environments with different gang politics, different street codes, different everything. But at the same time, violence is violence, death is death, and pain is pain. That shit is universal. So 21 might argue that his message transcends geography. Here's where we gotta zoom out and look at what this beef represents for hip-hop culture as a whole. This ain't just about two rappers disagreeing. This is about a fundamental tension in hip-hop between keeping it real and evolving as a person. Hip-hop has always valued authenticity above almost everything else. So when someone like 21 Savage, who built his career on being one of the realest street rappers out, starts promoting a message that seems contrary to that image, it creates cognitive dissonance for some people. They asking, is he still real? Is this just PR? Is he a hypocrite? Or is he genuinely trying to evolve and help people? On the flip side, you got artists like YB who refuse to change their message or soften their image, regardless of how much money they make or how famous they get. And there's something authentic about that too. Let's address the elephant in the room though. Is 21 Savage a hypocrite? Some people pointing out that he still makes street music sometimes, he still raps about violence in certain songs, he still associates with people who active in the streets. He took sides in the Dirk/YB situation, which is a street beef. So how can he turn around and say, fuck the streets? 21 addressed this in his rant. I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to save the streets. I'm trying to stop all this crazy shit that be going on. This shit unnecessary. I'm trying to be a part of the solution. The key word there is trying. He ain't saying he perfect or that he completely divorced from the streets. He's saying he trying to change, he trying to be better, and that's real life. Change don't happen overnight, but not everybody gonna see it that way. Some people want that clean break. Either you street or you not, pick one. They don't want the gray area. Here's what's crazy about all this though. While 21 and YB going back and forth, while fans taking sides and arguing on social media, young kids in the hood still dying every day. That's what gets lost in all this. 21's message, regardless of how you feel about the messenger, is ultimately about saving lives. It's about trying to give young people an alternative to a lifestyle that statistically leads to prison or death. So when 21 says fuck the streets, he's saying fuck a system that feeds young black and brown kids into a pipeline of violence, incarceration, and early death. But here's where YB and others like him got a point too. It's easy to say fuck the streets when you already made it out. When you got millions of dollars, when you can afford to move your family somewhere safe, when you got security, when you got options, what about the kids who still stuck there? What about the people who ain't got a way out yet? For them, the streets might not be a choice. It might be survival. That's what YB means when he says, I am the streets, I love the streets. He ain't saying he loved the violence. He's saying he loved where he come from. He loved his people who's still there. And he ain't gonna act like he above it just because he got famous. What's frustrating about this whole situation is that there should be a middle ground here, but neither side seems willing to find it. 21 could acknowledge that his message might come across as preachy to people's current reality, while still maintaining that reducing violence is worth pursuing. YB could acknowledge that while he's proud of where he's from, the cycle of violence ultimately ain't sustainable and there's value in trying to break it. But in the current climate of hip-hop, where everything is about taking sides, that nuance gets lost. There's no room for complexity, no room for understanding both perspectives. So where do we go from here? Right now, we in a holding pattern. 21 said his piece, YB said his piece, and we waiting to see if this escalates or dies down. The danger is that this turns into something more than words. We done seen too many times in hip-hop where verbal sparring turns into real violence, and that would be the ultimate irony. A beef that started over 21 trying to reduce street violence turning into more street violence. But there's also a chance this just fades away. Neither of them really got nothing to gain from taking this further. They both got too much money, too much to lose. The truth is, hip-hop needs both perspectives. We need people like 21 who willing to take a stand and say, we gotta do better. But we also need people like YB who ain't gonna sugarcoat the reality of what people still going through. The problem is when these perspectives turn into opposition instead of complementing each other, when it becomes a beef instead of a dialogue, and that's the state of hip-hop right now, fam. We can't even agree on whether telling people to stop killing each other is a good thing or not. That's how deep this street shit runs. But I'll say this, 21 Savage stood on what he said, and he made it clear he ain't backing down from his message, regardless of who got a problem with it. At the same time, NBA YoungBoy made it clear he ain't changing for nobody and he gonna keep representing the streets his way. Only time will tell if this beef escalates or if they figure out a way to coexist with their different philosophies. But one thing's for sure, the conversation is happening now, and that's important whether you agree with 21's approach or not. At the end of the day, both of them speaking from their truth. 21 speaking from the perspective of somebody who made it out and don't want to see others go through what he went through. YB speaking from the perspective of somebody still navigating these streets. Maybe instead of arguing about who right, we should be asking how we can take the best from both perspectives and actually make a difference. How can we honor where we come from while also striving for something better? Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Is 21 right for pushing the fuck the streets movement? Or is YB right that you can't tell another man how to live? Do y'all think this beef is gonna get worse or will they squash it? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe because you already know we covering all the hip-hop drama as it unfolds. This shit is far from over, trust me. Until next time, stay safe out there and remember, whether you with the streets or against them, the goal should always be making it out alive. Peace.
Squash his beef with Yo like he did everybody else. I think it's more so about the girl, his wife, and no disrespect to her, but would you be willing to squash some beef with somebody who had sex with your wife? You know, maybe while you was in prison, I don't know when it was or whatever. Oh Lord. It's supposed to be your friend.
It looks like the Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane beef is back brewing after Pooh come home and Gotti over his own CEO that helped create him on some snake-ass shit. Behind all the success in CMG empire, Gotti was plotting on Pooh Shiesty while he was locked up, knowing damn well this would bring back the deadly beef that almost ended both their careers. The shocking truth behind how a simple record deal turned into street politics that's got the whole industry watching is more calculated than anyone imagined, and we're about to reveal it all. Now, before we break this shit down, let me keep it 100 with y'all boys. Social media been buzzing about Pooh Shiesty wanting out of 1017, and Yo Gotti been posting him up like he's already signed to CMG. Pooh Shiesty was finally coming home from his federal bid, and while he was locked up, the game changed completely. This young gangster was ready to get back to the money, but he wasn't expecting his own label boss to be acting funny with the bread. Now hold up before y'all start thinking this is just some regular contract dispute. This is about loyalty, respect, and two OGs who already got bad blood between them. But here's where it gets real spicy. When your biggest artist wants to jump ship to your biggest op, that's when business becomes personal. Let me take y'all back to when Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti was actually homies. We talking early 2010s when these two was running the South together. Both these dudes came from the trenches. Gucci from Zone 6 in Atlanta, Gotti from North Memphis, and Real recognized Real. See, this wasn't just some industry friendship for the cameras. These dudes had genuine respect for each other because they both came up the hard way. Gucci was already established as the trap king, but he saw something in Gotti that reminded him of himself. That hunger, that authenticity, that willingness to do whatever it took to make it out the hood. For y'all who wasn't around during that era, understand that collaborative mixtapes between two established artists wasn't common like it is now. When Gucci and Gotti dropped those tapes, it was like watching two legends at the top of their game pushing each other to be better. Every track was fire, every hook was memorable, and the streets was eating it up. But yo, this is where the story gets deeper than just friendship. October 17th, 2012. That date was everything to Gucci Mane because it represented his brand, 1017. He'd been promoting his Trap God mixtape for months, hitting every interview, every social media post, making sure the whole world knew he was dropping on that specific day. Now, in the industry, we know timing is everything. When you drop can make or break your numbers, especially back then when mixtapes was still moving units and getting real buzz. Gucci had this date locked in, and everybody in his camp knew this was his moment to solidify 1017 as a real force in the game. The marketing budget was already spent, the features was locked in, the distribution was set up, everything was pointing to October 17th being Gucci's day. The real kicker though, Yo Gotti announced he was dropping CM7 The World Is Yours on the exact same day. Now, Gotti claimed he didn't know, But let me break down for y'all why that's some real questionable timing. These dudes was tight, they was making music together, and Gucci had been promoting this date for months. How you not know your homies dropping the same day? According to Gotti, when he found out about the conflict, he was actually excited. He thought it would be dope for both of them to drop on the same day and shut the internet down. In his mind, this was going to be like a celebration of their friendship and their dominance in the South, but Gotti was thinking like a fan, not like a businessman. For y'all who might not understand the business side, let me explain. When two artists drop on the same day, especially if they got similar fan bases, it splits the attention, the streams, the sales, everything. It's like opening two restaurants right next to each other, both gonna eat, but neither gonna feast like they could have. But it gets deeper than just sales numbers. In the industry, your release date is your moment to shine, your time to dominate the conversation. When someone else drops the same day, especially someone in your circle, it dilutes your impact. Instead of all the blogs talking about just your project, now they gotta split coverage between two releases. Plus, you gotta think about the psychological aspect. Gucci had been building up October 17th as his special day for months. Having someone else, even a friend, share that spotlight felt like a violation of something sacred to him. So Gotti tried to reach out to Gucci about the situation, but Gucci wasn't trying to hear none of that. According to Gotti, he hit Gucci's phone immediately when he found out about the conflict, thinking they could work it out like homies. But Gucci didn't answer. Gotti tried again, still nothing. He even reached out to people in Gucci's camp, asking them to have Gucci call him back, but the phone never rang. And honestly, I can understand why Gucci was heated. Not only was his homie dropping on his special day, but Gotti had just dropped that I Got Racks remix featuring T.I. and Jeezy, and everybody knows Jeezy was Gucci's biggest op at the time. Gotti finally got through to Gucci after Gucci tweeted about the situation. The tweet was subtle but clear. Why would another artist put their mixtape out on 10/17 if they ain't Brick Squad? You ain't me. Trap God. That was Gucci's way of calling out the disrespect without naming names. According to Gotti, they chopped it up on the phone and he thought everything was cool. He even changed his release date to October 18th out of respect. But during that phone call, Gucci wasn't even focused on the release date issue. He was heated about the Jeezy and T.I. collaboration. Gucci went on the radio and said, "My main problem with him is that he dropped his mixtape on 10/17 and tried to ride my wave. Why would you drop it if you ain't on 10/17? That's some real hurt right there because Gucci felt like his homie was trying to use his moment for clout. But here's where it gets real messy. Gucci dropped Birds of a Feather and said exactly this. I used to with Gotti until he turned into a buster. Let that sink in for a minute. Your homie just called you a buster on a record for the whole world to hear. Gotti was hurt by the diss, but he tried to take the high road at first. But eventually, Gotti had to respond. He dropped Have Mercy, and that was it. The friendship was officially over. The track wasn't as vicious as some diss records, but it made it clear that Gotti wasn't gonna let Gucci disrespect him without laying belt to ass. Now, this is where we got to address the elephant in the room. During a Breakfast Club interview, Gotti revealed that he had slept with Keyshia Ka'oir, who's now Gucci's wife, while Gucci was locked up on a probation violation. Gotti said it like it was just part of the game. You know how the game go. I ain't know you was in love and all that. Let me break down for y'all how this situation went down. Gucci was locked up for violating his probation. He had only completed 25 hours of his required 600 hours of community service, so the judge revoked his probation and sent him to jail for a year.
Was handcuffed and taken to jail as after a judge revoked part of Radrick Davis's probation. Prosecutors complained that the rapper had only completed 25 hours of the 600 hours of community service he was ordered to perform.
Good afternoon, Fred. The judge said, judging by his record, Radrick Davis, otherwise known as Gucci Mane, is not a worthy candidate for probation. So the judge decided to end a portion of his probation and send him to jail.
While he was locked up, unable to defend his relationship or even communicate properly with Keyshia, Gotti made his move. According to Gotti, he didn't know Gucci was serious about Keyshia like that. He claimed it was just casual, just part of how things go in the streets. But that's some real snake behavior right there. Because even if you didn't know they were serious, you still don't mess with your homie's girl while he's locked up. The way Gotti talked about it in the interview made it even worse. He was laughing about it, acting like it was no big deal. But then Gucci ended up getting locked up in 2013, facing 20 years on 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a felon. The feds found weapons on him in 2 separate encounters, and with his criminal history, they was trying to put him under the jail, but that prison bid actually saved his life. When Gucci came home in 2016, he was a different person. Clean, focused, healthy, and not looking for no drama. He had lost 40 pounds in his first 2 months inside just from detoxing off the lean. He had a new baby, his label was doing better than ever, and he seemed like he was past all the petty beef. The old Gucci would have been on Twitter going crazy, dissing everybody, starting new beefs every week. But the new Gucci was about his business. He was making better music, signing better artists, and building a real empire instead of just talking about it. Fast forward to 2020, and Gucci signed this young gangster from Memphis named Pooh Shiesty. This kid was different. He had that raw street energy that reminded people of the old Gucci, but with a modern twist that connected with the younger generation. Pooh Shiesty's story was perfect for 1017. He came from the same type of environment that Gucci came from. The streets, the struggle, the hustle. But he also had that hunger that you can't teach, that desperation to make it out that drives the best artists. But then he caught a federal case and got locked up for conspiracy charges. In October 2021, Pooh Shiesty was arrested on firearms conspiracy charges and eventually sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. For most artists, that would be career suicide. Prison time kills momentum, kills buzz, kills relevance. During this time, Gucci made public statements about how much he missed Pooh Shiesty, how he couldn't wait for him to come home, how 1017 was holding it down for their star artist. Gucci even went as far as dropping almost everyone else from the label roster, keeping only Pooh Shiesty and Fugiano. But while Pooh Shiesty was locked up, the game kept moving. Other artists was getting bigger deals, the streaming numbers was going up across the industry, and the value of hot artists was skyrocketing. When Pooh came home, he realized his value had increased significantly. Now, this is where Yo Gotti comes into the picture. CMG has been on a signing spree over the past few years, picking up hot artists and giving them the deals they deserve. Gotti's been posting Pooh Shiesty on his social media, showing love and support. Not just casual posts either, we talking about real promotion, the type of posts that get millions of views and generate serious buzz. He even sent his biggest female artist, Glorilla, to do a song with Pooh. The timing of all this support wasn't coincidental either. Gotti knew that Pooh Shiesty's contract with 1017 was up for renewal, and he was positioning CMG as the better option. It was a calculated move by someone who understands the business better than most. According to sources close to the situation, when it came time to renegotiate Pooh Shiesty's deal, Gucci was offering numbers that were way below what Pooh was worth. We talking about lowball offers that didn't reflect the streams, the cultural impact, or the earning potential. Industry insiders say the offers were insulting. We talking about deals that would have been appropriate for a new artist, not for someone who had generated millions in revenue for the label. It was like Gucci was trying to take advantage of Pooh's loyalty instead of rewarding it. Now, Gucci ain't the type to go on social media and start tweeting about his business. He's not internet like that. The old Gucci might have been on Twitter going crazy, but the new Gucci handles his business behind closed doors. But sources close to the situation say he's not happy about Gotti trying to poach his biggest star. And honestly, who would be? You invest in an artist, help build their career, give them their first real opportunity, and then your op tries to steal them when they get hot. That's like raising a kid and then having your enemy try to adopt them when they become successful. From Gucci's perspective, this is probably feeling like deja vu. Once again, Gotti is trying to benefit from something that Gucci built. First, it was trying to ride his wave with the October 17th release date. Now it's trying to steal his biggest star. But the game has changed since their original beef. Back then, both artists was more or less on the same level. Now Gotti's got a bigger platform, more resources, and arguably more industry respect. CMG is seen as one of the hottest labels in the game, while 1017 has been struggling to maintain relevance outside of Pooh Shiesty. The real question is, what's Pooh Shiesty thinking? On one hand, you got loyalty to the label that gave you your first shot. Gucci believed in him when nobody else would, gave him a platform, and helped him become a star. That type of loyalty is supposed to mean something in the streets. This whole situation shows how the game has changed. Back in the day, if you had beef with someone, you stayed away from their people. Now, it's all about the bag, and loyalty comes second to opportunity. But in the streets, some things never change. Disrespect is still disrespect. If Pooh Shiesty leaves 1017 for CMG, it sends a message to other artists that loyalty only goes so far. If your label isn't treating you right, there are other options out there. That could lead to a wave of artists demanding better deals or jumping ship to labels that value them more. If you want to see more content breaking down the business side of hip-hop and the real stories behind the headlines, check out our other videos. We got deep dives into label politics, artist contracts, and all the behind-the-scenes drama that shapes the culture. Until next time, stay dangerous, fam, and remember, in this game, loyalty is everything until it's not. Peace.
What started as a few petty comments between two of the most talked about names in hip-hop has now gotten deadly. The feud between NBA YoungBoy and Blueface has crossed the line, and not in the way that word gets thrown around loosely on social media. There have been developments, recent, serious, and deeply personal ones, that have shifted the tone of this entire situation from internet drama into something that has real people on both sides watching very carefully. Family members have been dragged in. Private conversations have gone public. And the question that everyone in the hip-hop community is now asking is the same one that brought you here today. How much further can this go before something irreversible happens? Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into this, let me keep it 100 with y'all right now. We are about to separate the facts from the fiction, the confirmed from the rumored, and the real from the internet noise. Because there is a lot being said about this situation from a lot of different angles, and if you do not have the full picture, it is very easy to get it twisted. So we are starting from the very beginning, walking through every major moment that built this beef into what it is today. And then we are going to get to the stuff that has everybody shook right now. By the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why so many people are using the word deadly when they talk about where this is headed. Let's get into it. Now, before we can understand why this particular conflict has reached the level it has, you have to understand who these two men are. Not just as rappers, but as public figures with entire ecosystems built around them. Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden, you know him as NBA YoungBoy. Born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he built one of the most loyal fan bases in all of modern hip-hop from practically nothing. He grew up in a city where violence was not a concept. It was a daily reality. He was shot at before most people in his city even knew his name. He caught his first serious legal case as a teenager. He was locked up multiple times, placed on house arrest, battled federal charges, had his movements restricted, and still, through every single one of those obstacles, kept releasing music at a pace that left every other artist in his lane looking slow. That work ethic was not just impressive, it was almost irrational. And the internet responded to it by making him one of the most streamed artists on the entire planet. Let those numbers sink in for a minute. YoungBoy became the youngest artist in history to chart 100 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Over 15 billion YouTube views across his catalog. 42 sold-out shows on his 2025 Make America Slime Again tour, the biggest solo run of his career, making him the first Baton Rouge rapper to hit that milestone in a single tour run. His breakout single, Outside Today, went quadruple platinum. His mixtape AI YoungBoy 2 debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, and through all of it, he has remained one of the most polarizing figures in the genre. Beloved by his fans with a kind of intensity that borders on religious, and deeply controversial to everyone outside that circle. His fan base, known as the 4KT Faithful, is among the most passionate and loyal in the entire industry. When someone comes at YoungBoy, it is never just YoungBoy they are dealing with. His following takes it personally. They show up, they respond, and that matters enormously for what we are about to get into. On the other side of this story is Jonathan Jamal Michael Porter, Blueface. He came out of Los Angeles and broke through around 2018 and 2019, with Dodiana, a record that became a genuine mainstream moment and a viral sensation. His style was intentionally offbeat, almost defiantly so, and rather than apologize for it, he leaned all the way in and turned the controversy around his flow into his entire brand. Some people called it a gimmick. His fans called it genius. Either way, it worked. Blueface built a career not just on music, but on being the most unfiltered, chaotic version of himself at all times. In interviews, on social media, in his personal life, and in every public situation he found himself in. He does not filter. He does not hold back. And that quality, which made him entertaining to millions, has also been the source of nearly every major controversy attached to his name. His personal life has been extraordinarily public. His on and off relationship with Chrisean Rock, a reality television personality and rapper in her own right, and the mother of his son, Chrisean Jr., has been one of the most documented, dissected, and debated celebrity relationships in recent hip-hop history. The two went back and forth publicly for years, a cycle of separation and reunion that played out almost entirely in front of cameras and comment sections. And then there are his legal troubles, which have been just as visible as everything else. In January of 2024, Blueface turned himself in on probation violations connected to an earlier assault case, and he spent over a year incarcerated before walking out of prison in late 2025. Even locked up, his name never stopped generating headlines because his world kept moving without him, loudly and publicly, and the people around him made sure of that. So check it. Two massive artists, two very different come-ups, two men with enormous fan bases, documented histories of controversy, and absolutely no reputation for backing down from anything. That combination alone makes any conflict between them major news. But here's where it gets interesting, because the tension between these two did not start with something dramatic. It started almost as a joke. Christmas Eve, 2022, Blueface hopped on Instagram Live and ended up in a real-time exchange with NBA YoungBoy. On the surface, the mood was light. The two were going back and forth about who had better women in their circles, who pulled more, who had the baddest squad. YoungBoy laughed it off and even suggested they do a competition, get their groups together and settle it. It was playful, it was entertaining, the internet loved it. But even in that seemingly low-stakes exchange, YoungBoy dropped something that people noticed. He told Blueface he had come across information about him, implying he knew things that others did not, without spelling out exactly what he meant. Cryptic, deliberate. And in the hip-hop world, that kind of comment does not just disappear. It gets filed away. And fans on both sides started paying closer attention to every interaction between these two from that moment forward. Now, the real tea that got everybody shook did not come from that live alone. It came from what started building around it. Because the two artists share something beyond mutual awareness of each other. They share proximity. And in hip-hop, proximity is never neutral. Chrisean Rock, Blueface's long-term on and off partner and the mother of his son, began appearing in spaces connected to YoungBoy's world. And then, in September of 2025, while YoungBoy was in the middle of his record-breaking massive tour, something happened that the internet grabbed and did not let go of. Chrisean Rock showed up at his concert at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. After the show, footage surfaced of the two of them posing briefly for a photo outside the venue. 3.6 seconds of video. That is it. But those 3.6 seconds spread to millions of people overnight. And the reason was not just that they were photographed together. It was YoungBoy's body language. Stiff, neutral, almost frozen. Trizian was smiling wide, leaning in, full energy. He looked like he was somewhere else entirely. Fans immediately started breaking it down, turning it into memes, arguing about what his expression meant. Some said he was just exhausted from performing. Others read it as clear discomfort. And the question underneath all of it was the same one nobody was saying out loud. How does Blueface feel about this, sitting in a prison cell while his baby's mother is getting photographed outside a YoungBoy concert? DJ Academics posted a selfie from that same night with Trizian, captioning it "Free Blueface," and that was all it took to push the conversation into overdrive. Let that sink in for a minute. But here's where the story gets deeper than just a viral photo, because the next chapter of this did not come from the rappers themselves. It came from someone much closer to the situation. And honestly, for anyone who has been following the Blueface universe over the last few years, the name will not surprise you at all. Karlissa Sappho is Blueface's mother, and if you have been following hip-hop news at all over the last few years, you already know that she is one of the most active, outspoken, and unfiltered personalities in the entire ecosystem. She is not a behind-the-scenes figure. She is not the kind of parent who quietly supports her child from a distance. Karlissa has been on Instagram Live, on X, on multiple platforms, consistently and loudly commenting on Blueface's romantic relationships, his co-parenting situations, his legal troubles, the people in his orbit, and just about everything else you can imagine. She has publicly gone at Chrisean Rock on multiple occasions. She has blasted Jaden Alexis, the mother of two of Blueface's other children. She has weighed in on Blueface's new girlfriend, his prison behavior, his tattoos, his decisions from behind bars. nothing has been off limits. When Blueface lost his video call privileges inside prison after footage of a suggestive phone call surfaced online, it was Karlissa who went on record about it publicly, revealing that he had already lost FaceTime access because of his behavior on a previous call. When Blueface was released from prison in late 2025, and drama immediately erupted between Chrisean and Jaden Alexis over a family outing at an arcade, Karlissa went straight to Instagram Live and blasted Chrisean, calling her evil and placing full responsibility on her for ruining what should have been a heartwarming first day home. She has been consistently vocal, consistently visible, and consistently at the center of every major public narrative surrounding her son. And somewhere in the middle of all that commentary, all those posts, all those lies, all those opinions, she started bringing up NBA Youngboy's name. Not casually, not in passing, repeatedly, and in ways that connected him directly to conversations about Blueface and the people around him. That is a detail that changed everything about this story. And if you have been following hip-hop news at all in the last few years, you already know that she is one of the most active, outspoken, and unfiltered personalities in the entire ecosystem. She is not a behind-the-scenes figure. She does not sit quietly while her son's name is being discussed online. Karlissa has been on Instagram Live, on X, on multiple platforms, commenting on Blueface's romantic relationships, his legal situation, his co-parenting drama, the people in his orbit, and just about everything else you can think of. When Blueface lost his video call privileges in prison, after footage of a suggestive call surfaced, it was Karlissa who went on record about it publicly. When Blueface was released from prison in late 2025, and drama immediately erupted between Chrisean and Jaden Alexis, the mother of two of his other children, over a family outing at an arcade. Karlissa took to Instagram Live to blast Chrisean and place full blame on her for ruining what should have been a heartwarming first day home. She has been consistently vocal, consistently visible, and consistently central to how Blueface's public narrative plays out. And Karlissa has brought up NBA Youngboy's name more than once, in ways that connected him directly to conversations about her son and the people around him. That commentary did not go unnoticed. Now, this is where we got to address what actually pushed this situation into its most serious chapter yet. Reports began circulating across hip-hop media, picked up by outlets, discussed on podcasts, analyzed on YouTube and X, involving a private audio recording that allegedly captured NBA Youngboy in one of the most volatile moments of this entire beef. The audio spread fast. We are talking about the kind of content that gets picked up by the algorithm and delivered to millions of people within hours of being posted. It was being broken down on live streams, shared across Instagram stories, quoted on X, and turned into content by virtually every hip-hop commentator in the space. And what people heard in that recording, and we want to be clear that this is leaked material, widely reported on but not independently verified in full, was not a calm, calculated response. This was Youngboy completely losing his composure, and the trigger, according to everything that has been publicly reported, was Karlissa Saffold. Not one comment, not a single post. Days. Karlissa had spent days aggressively trolling Youngboy online, repeatedly dragging his name into her commentary, using him for internet engagement. And when that audio dropped, it was clear he had reached his limit. The delivery in that recording is described by those who have covered it as volcanic. Screaming, animated, so unhinged in the moment that he can reportedly be heard audibly spitting onto his phone screen mid-rant. He fires graphic warnings at Saffold, making it explicitly clear she needs to stay out of his business and stop using his name for clout. That is not the energy of someone who is mildly annoyed. That is the energy of someone who feels genuinely disrespected and wants that point to land with full force. Let that sink in for a minute. The real kicker though, that audio did not stop at Karlissa. Doing the same explosive rant, Youngboy turned his fury toward Chrisean Rock, firing severe unprovoked insults at Blueface's on and off partner and the mother of his son, dragging her name directly into the crossfire. And that is where the public reaction shifted from curiosity to genuine alarm. Because now, you are no longer talking about two rappers going back and forth. You are talking about a leaked private recording in which a man has gone completely off on both the mother of his rival and the mother of his rival's child, in the same breath, without hesitation. In hip-hop culture, there is a traditional line between internet trolling and real disrespect. Bringing a man's mother and his baby's mother into a street-tied dispute is not a bar in a diss track. It is a personal violation. And both Youngboy and Blueface command fiercely loyal entourages with real-world street ties. That combination, personal family disrespect, loyal street-connected circles, and a private rant that has now gone fully public, is exactly why hip-hop commentators and fans across the board are not treating this like ordinary beef. They are genuinely concerned that this crosses the line from a war of words into something that could spill into the physical world. Now, let me break it down for y'all who might not fully understand why people keep using the word deadly when they talk about this, because we need to be honest. Neither NBA Youngboy nor Blueface has made explicit, confirmed, verified threats against each other in any public statement. We are not here to exaggerate what is known. What we are here to tell you is why the concern is real, and why it goes beyond what any one audio clip or any one viral moment can fully capture on its own. Because when you zoom out and look at the full picture, the history of both men, the circles they run with, the nature of what was said in that audio, and the fact that it is now permanently part of the public record, the concern starts to make a lot of sense. Youngboy's history speaks for itself. His 2025 tour concert in Chicago was canceled by the United Center, a major arena, due to public safety concerns, tied to his ongoing beef with Lil Durk and the broader tensions around Chicago rap culture. His own mother, Sharhonda Golden, took to social media to say the cancellation was not meant to hurt fans but to protect them. His manager publicly criticized the venue for making the call. A professor who studies race and media told reporters it was a legitimate public safety calculation. That is not manufactured drama. That is a real venue in a major American city, making a real decision because the people responsible for that building looked at the landscape and decided the risk of something going wrong was too high to take. And Lil Durk is not even the person we are talking about in this video. Youngboy has been managing multiple intense beefs simultaneously. A man who publicly stated that he wants to leave conflict behind him, that he wants to focus on his music and his family and his future, but who in the same breath acknowledged that there is one situation pulling at him that he is fighting the urge to respond to in a very different way. He did not name who that situation involves. He did not have to. Fans and commentators filled in the blank immediately, and a significant portion of the conversation landed squarely on the Blueface situation. Blueface, meanwhile, is out of prison and he is not laying low. He has been back on the scene, performing on his own tour, releasing previews of new music, and making himself very present in the public conversation. In a December 2025 interview, he weighed in on Youngboy directly, questioning the reported $75 million in revenue from the massive tour, telling an interviewer he does not believe the hype. Youngboy's fans responded immediately and loudly. The two sides went back and forth across social media, and while Blueface kept things relatively verbal in that exchange, the pattern his behavior has established is consistent. He does not stay quiet, he does not back down, and he has shown no indication that he is trying to de-escalate anything involving his name or his family. For those who know the culture, you already understand what that pattern means. But here is the broader context that matters for everyone watching. Rap beefs have always been central to hip-hop. Competition, one-upmanship, lyricism. These are foundational to the genre, and they always have been. The battle rap tradition goes back to the very beginning. And for most of hip-hop's history, those conflicts stayed in the music. They fueled great records. They created legendary moments. They were part of what made the culture so electric. But the moments in hip-hop history that moved beyond the music and into real-world consequences have almost always followed the same pattern. They became personal. They involved people outside the two artists at the center. Mothers, partners, children, entourages. They included private communications that went public and could not be taken back. And they involved men with loyal, tight-knit circles who understood disrespect, not as an abstract internet concept, but as something requiring a real response. Every single one of those characteristics is present in this situation right now. Every single one. The internet has played an enormous role in amplifying all of it. Algorithms do not reward calm. They reward conflict. They reward outrage. They reward the kind of content that makes people stop scrolling and hit share before they have even fully processed what they just watched. When that leaked audio dropped, it did not just reach NBA YoungBoy fans or Blueface fans. It reached millions of people who may not even closely follow either artist, but who got swept up in the wave of reactions, breakdowns, and commentary that followed within hours. Every platform ran with it differently. YouTube creators uploaded reaction videos and analysis pieces. X became a battleground of competing takes. Instagram story reposts spread the audio to audiences who would never have sought it out on their own. TikTok turned clips of the commentary into trending sounds. And every time the content cycled through a new platform, the story got a little louder, a little more extreme, and a little further from the nuance of what actually happened. That is how social media works in 2025 and 2026. A private moment becomes a public spectacle, becomes a cultural moment, becomes a permanent piece of the record, all within a news cycle. And once something is that embedded in the public conversation, neither party can simply choose to walk it back. The internet has receipts. The internet does not forget. And crucially, the internet does not care about de-escalation. It cares about what comes next. That is the trap that makes situations like this so genuinely dangerous. Because the pressure to respond from fans, from commentators, from the algorithm itself, never goes away. Every day that passes without a response gets interpreted as weakness by someone online. Every quiet moment gets filled with speculation. And eventually, that pressure finds its way back to the real people at the center of it, who are not social media characters. They are men with pride, with history, with circles of people who are watching and have their own opinions about what the right move is. At the end of the day, this situation is no longer about two rappers competing for cultural supremacy. It stopped being about that a long time ago. It is about a conflict that has pulled in mothers, baby mothers, leaked private conversations, and an online machine that profits from every new escalation. It is about two men with enormous pride, enormous platforms, and enormous circles of people who are watching what each of them does next. It is about a culture that loves the drama until the drama becomes something none of us can take back. And it is about a line that, once crossed in situations like this, has historically been very hard to walk back from. The real question is, where does it go from here? Does YoungBoy stay on the path he publicly described, the one where he focuses on his music, his family, and his future? Does Blueface, fresh out of prison, rebuilding his career and with everything to prove, find a way to let this sit without responding to every new development that hits the timeline? Does Karlissa Sappho continue to be the loudest voice in the room? Or does someone in that circle finally recognize that her public commentary is pouring gasoline on something that absolutely does not need more fire? And does Crazy and Rock, who has been at the intersection of this entire story from the Brooklyn concert photo to the leaked audio, find a way to step out of the crossfire? Or does her own very active public presence keep pulling her deeper into it, whether she wants that or not? We do not have those answers. Nobody does right now. And that uncertainty, that genuine, unresolved, open-ended question about what happens next, is exactly what has people watching this situation with the kind of attention that goes well beyond entertainment. What do you think, fam? Is this something that eventually cools off on its own? Or have things already gone too far for that? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. We want to hear from both sides. And make sure you are subscribed and have that notification bell tapped, because this situation is still very much developing. And when the next move gets made, we are going to be right here breaking it all down for you.
Damn, it's my last time telling you, nigga. Why y'all stupid early boys can get yourself hurt behind a hoe? Man, I'm a gangster. I'm telling you like a man. I didn't pay on a fake page. I ain't got that to do, man. I'm too up. I'm too G'd up, man. Like, you want a nigga to your bitch so bad, I'm telling you, I don't even talk to her for these little weird ass hoes y'all been bringing up. I wouldn't dare even talk to him. Never spoke to him. Keep animals, my dude.
NBA YoungBoy just got finessed out of a $200,000 Lamborghini and had his name dragged through the mud, all because a fake Twitter account with 600 followers convinced the biggest streamer in the world that YB was messing with his girl. What happened next got Kai Cenat's whole team so shook, they pulled their boy Rakai out of Utah thinking YB was about to slide on them. No cap, this whole situation is more twisted than anything you've seen on the internet, and the real story behind it will blow your mind. The tweet that started World War III between two of the biggest names in entertainment got 17 million views in 6 hours. But here's what really went down behind the scenes, and why NBA YoungBoy is ready to clear his name by any means necessary. Kai Cenat was the undisputed king of streaming, pulling millions of viewers daily and just won Streamer of the Year at the biggest awards show in the game.
And the winner for Best Stream Collab is Kai Cenat and LeBron James!
But his personal life was crumbling faster than his career was rising. The breakup didn't just end a relationship. It exposed how fake rumors can destroy real friendships, cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars, and turn potential collaborations into unnecessary beef. To understand how this whole mess really went down, we gotta go back to Christmas 2024 when a $200,000 pink G-Wagon wish list started a chain reaction that nobody saw coming. This ain't just about a breakup, fam. This is about manipulation, fake news, and how the internet can destroy lives in 6 hours. Let's rewind to late 2024. Back then, Kai Cenat was on top of the streaming world, breaking records left and right, collaborating with celebrities, and building an empire that most people could only dream of. His girlfriend, Gabrielle Gigi Leah, was living her best life.
My life is truly amazing.
Posting vlogs about her amazing life while asking Kai for Christmas gifts that cost more than most people's annual salary.
G-Wagon, black, pink interior. It's very detailed. I just feel like, you know, for safety reasons, I did want a pink outside, but for safety reasons, I just feel like maybe it should be pink in the inside.
How much?
How much the car?
Yeah.
Not that much.
How much?
Not that much. I don't know. I don't know. It's not that much though. I promise. It's not that much. Like, it's not a lot.
But NBA YoungBoy had different plans brewing in the background. According to DJ Academics, YB had been watching Kai's content and actually respected the young streamer. This is important because YB don't just mess with anybody, but he saw something real in Kai and wanted to show him love. The relationship between Kai and Gigi was already showing major red flags that everybody could see except Kai himself. While Kai was opening up about mental health struggles at award shows, telling his fans, "I just want to say to you guys tonight, really take care of your mental health. I just noticed that recently I just been going through things in my head."
A few days ago, I spread awareness on mental health and how important it is to take care of yourself. And honestly, for the past few months, I've been struggling with mental health out of self-doubt and fright of pursuing goals that I really want to achieve.
His girl was posting vlogs talking about how blessed and amazing her life was. Here's where it gets crazy. Gigi had literally described her dream man on stream months earlier, and fam, she described the complete opposite of Kai. When asked to build her man like a 2K character, she said he got to be like 6'1". Waves, I love me a little, you know, waves. Nice body, like works out, looks nice. Light skin, he's an artist. Music, he makes music. This is my dream man. Let me break down for you. She wanted someone 6 feet 1 inch, Kai's 5 feet 5 inches, light-skinned, Kai's dark-skinned, with waves, Kai had dreads. Who makes music? Kai's a streamer. She basically described NBA YoungBoy to a T. That should have been the first red flag right there, but love makes you blind sometimes. But it gets worse. Gigi's own mother had been making videos warning Kai about her daughter's true personality.
She was leaving her dog to go run behind Kai, leaving him in the house for 12 to 15 hours a day, pissing and shitting all in my $1 million house. I did snap out on her. She has no respect, no regard for what I'm going through. Oh, you gonna do what you did last time, just move in with a man. Cool, got it. Not mad. But for you to sit there and be like, yeah, you asked me to live with you, I told you no. You are so hurtful. When he was cheating or caught cheating, I took up for y'all. I took up for you. I stood by you. I said, Gabrielle, it's cool.
Her mom literally said on camera, "I sent Gabrielle to her dad. She tripping, acting wild, disobedient. And Gabriel, you know you don't want me to post the stuff you was doing. And I won't. But if I did, Mr. Kai Cenat, you'll know, baby. The woman that you in love with, that's me." When your girl's own mama is telling you she's putting on an act and you don't know the real her, that's when you should have been running for the hills. But Kai was in love and couldn't see what everybody else was seeing clear as day. The environment around Kai was toxic too. People close to the situation were already warning him about Gigi's character, but when you're that successful and that young, It's hard to know who's really looking out for you versus who's just hating on your happiness. Then this happened. Right before Christmas, Gigi presented Kai with the most outrageous Christmas wish list in streaming history. We're talking about a pink G-Wagon worth $200,000 to $300,000, a pink crocodile Birkin bag worth $50,000 to $350,000, a mini frosted Audemars Piguet watch worth $88,000, diamond earrings that required calling a jeweler for pricing, Louis Vuitton bags, Chanel wallets, and more. The total? Close to $1 million in Christmas gifts. And when she's showing him all this expensive stuff, she keeps saying, it's not that much and it's not a lot.
Like, it's not a lot.
Shorty really thought asking for $1 million in gifts was reasonable. That's some next level audacity right there. But it shows her mindset. She saw Kai as a walking ATM, not as a person she loved. According to sources close to the situation, when Kai didn't get her that pink G-Wagon for Christmas, that's when the real problem started. Gigi had been getting flued out by other dudes early in her relationship with Kai. Someone was flying her places and buying her things, and Kai found out about it later. But here's where it gets real messy. According to multiple sources, Gigi tried to flip the script on Kai when he confronted her about the other dudes. She gaslit him and tried to make it seem like he was tripping over nothing, even though she was clearly moving suspicious. Then came the tweet that changed everything. A fake Twitter account called Fendi with barely 600 followers posted, "There are rumors going around that Kai's girlfriend Gigi is cheating on him with NBA Youngboy via DJ Akademiks on his live stream." But here's the kicker. Akademiks never said this. The whole thing was completely fabricated. Akademiks himself came out and said, "How y'all read a headline that says Akademiks reported that Kai's girlfriend is cheating on him with Youngboy, and I said it on a live stream that I stream to 15,000 people every night, and there's not one video clip of me saying this and people are running with it." The fake post did 3.6 million views, and suddenly everybody was talking about it. Most people with sense dismissed it because it came from a random account with no credibility, but the damage was already being done behind the scenes. According to multiple sources, Kai actually believed this fake rumor. The man was already going through mental health struggles, dealing with self-doubt and fear about his career goals, and this fake story pushed him over the edge. Instead of fact-checking, calling Akademiks directly, or reaching out to YB, Kai made the decision that would cost everyone involved. Things escalated when Kai posted on Twitter, "I'm single, I'll never be in another relationship again." That tweet did 17 million views in 6 hours, and the internet went absolutely wild. People were commenting stuff like, "Right after Christmas too, make sure to get some parting gifts," which was actually accurate because Gigi had just moved into an Atlanta penthouse that Kai probably paid for. But that's not even the crazy part. According to Akademiks, when NBA Youngboy tried to call Kai to clear the air and explain that he never dealt with his girl, Kai refused to answer the phone. YB was confused as hell. He's thinking, why won't this dude talk to me? I never even dealt with his girl, and now he won't even let me explain. Akademiks revealed the real reason Kai wouldn't answer. Kai literally turns down speaking to him because in his mind, why will I talk to the guy who messed with my girl? He could gaslight me about messing with my girl. So Kai's logic was that YB would just lie to him anyway, so why even have the conversation? But that decision would cost everyone involved way more than Kai could have imagined. By this time, the situation was spiraling out of control, and nobody knew the real truth except the people involved. But the damage was already being done behind the scenes, and it was about to get way worse. On the day everything went down, NBA Youngboy was in Utah setting up what was supposed to be the collaboration of the year. According to Akademiks' exclusive breakdown, YB had flown Rakai, Kai's younger associate and upcoming streamer, out to Utah for a surprise stream that would have broken the internet and changed Rakai's life forever. Here's the exclusive details that nobody talks about. NBA Youngboy wasn't just planning a regular collab or a simple stream. According to Akademiks, YB had purchased a Lamborghini Urus. We're talking about a $200,000 plus vehicle that he was planning to surprise Rakai with on stream, live in front of thousands of viewers. Let me give you the full breakdown of how this went down because the backstory makes it even crazier. Months earlier, Akademiks was supposed to go to Aiden Ross's event, but missed his flight because he was on the phone with NBA Youngboy. During that conversation, YB told Akademiks, "You mess with that little dude? You mess with him?" Akademiks said, "Yeah," and YB responded, "I mess with that kid, man. man, I mess with him. He cool. One of these days, I'm going to pull up on him like surprise him type stuff. That conversation happened way before all this drama, showing that YB genuinely wanted to collaborate with Kai and his crew. YB had been watching their content and respected what they were doing. Fast forward to the Utah situation, and here's what Academics revealed about YB's real plans. Youngboy says to me, "Yo, I wanted to do a stream with him and I wanted to surprise him." I said, "What you mean?" He said, "I got that boy a Urus. I was going to surprise him. I got an actual Urus that I was going to surprise him with." But here's the context that makes this even more meaningful. YB had seen a stream where someone gave Rakai a toy car instead of a real one as a gift, and YB thought that was disrespectful to the young dude. So he decided to surprise Rakai with an actual Lamborghini Urus because, in YB's words, if you're going to give him a gift, give him a real gift. That's the type of person YB really is. When he shows love, he shows real love. We're talking about a multi-platinum artist who was willing to spend $200,000 on someone he barely knew just because he respected their hustle and wanted to show them love. The plan was set perfectly. Rakai was in Utah, ready to do what would have been the stream of a lifetime. YB had the Lamborghini ready, probably had the whole surprise planned out with cameras and everything. The content would have been legendary and Rakai would have gotten the surprise of his life. But then, everything went wrong. When Academics went online and mentioned that YB wasn't happy about Kai not answering his calls, Kai's team got spooked. They started thinking that YB was actually mad and might do something to Rakai since he was in Utah with YB. According to Academics, they literally pulled Rakai out of Utah because they thought NBA Youngboy might do something to him. The whole situation was wild because YB had no idea why Rakai suddenly had to leave. They told YB that Rakai had a photo shoot and had to leave immediately, but that was just an excuse. The real reason? Kai's team genuinely believed NBA Youngboy was a threat to Rakai's safety. They thought YB was so mad about the Kai situation that he might take it out on Rakai. Academics broke down how ridiculous this was. They get Kai to pack up and out of Utah. He doesn't do the stream, he leaves randomly. Youngboy didn't know why, just left. So he leaves because there's a fear that Youngboy might do something, which got to be stupid. Like, you think Youngboy's going to do something to a kid, bro? The irony is absolutely insane. While Kai's team thought YB was planning something malicious, YB was actually planning to give their boy a $200,000 car as a surprise gift. That's some next-level miscommunication and paranoia right there. When YB found out the real reason Rakai left, he was hurt and disappointed. According to Academics, YB said, "Well, they thought I was going to do something to a kid." What? YB couldn't believe that people actually thought he would hurt someone, especially over some fake internet drama. The investigation into what really happened revealed some shocking truths that nobody was ready for. First, the original Twitter account that started everything was completely fake. Just some random page trying to start drama for clout and engagement. The account had 600 followers, no verification, no credibility, but somehow managed to destroy multiple relationships and cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the deeper investigation into Kai and Gigi's relationship revealed even more disturbing details. According to inside sources, Gigi had been moving suspicious way before the YB rumors even started. She had been getting flued out by other dudes early in her relationship with Kai. Someone with money was flying her places and buying her expensive gifts. When Kai found out about this, instead of owning up to it, Gigi flipped it on him and tried to gaslight him. She made it seem like Kai was being paranoid and controlling, even though she was clearly being unfaithful. This is classic toxic behavior, getting caught doing wrong and then making the victim feel like they're crazy for questioning it. Kai's assistant Bree, who handles everything for Kai and usually stays completely professional, posted trash can emojis after the breakup. For Bree to break her professional demeanor and publicly disrespect Gigi meant that whatever Gigi did was really, really bad. Bree had seen everything behind the scenes and finally felt free to express how she really felt about Gigi. The streets started talking and more details came out about Gigi's character and background. People pointed out that she was raised by a known industry gold digger. Her mother, who's in her 40s and still chasing celebrities and athletes. When you're raised by a career gold digger, that behavior gets passed down like a family tradition. Her mother had literally made videos exposing Gigi's real personality, saying that the sweet, God-fearing Christian girl act was fake and that she had adopted her mother's personality to fool Kai. That's some calculated, manipulative behavior right there. But on the streets, NBA Youngboy was dealing with completely different consequences. His reputation was being dragged through the mud over something he never did. According to Academics, YB was genuinely hurt by the situation because he actually respected Kai and wanted to show him love, not steal his girl. The financial consequences were real and significant. YB lost out on what could have been one of the biggest collaborations in streaming history. The content from that stream would have been legendary. Imagine the views, the clips, the social media buzz. Both YB and Rakai lost out on that opportunity. Plus, YB was out $200,000 on a Lamborghini that was supposed to be a surprise gift. That's not pocket change, even for someone as successful as NBA YoungBoy. He had already purchased the car and planned the whole surprise, but it all went to waste because of fake rumors and miscommunication. Meanwhile, Kai's mental health continued to suffer as he dealt with the breakup and the internet drama. The man had already been struggling with self-doubt and fear about his career goals, and this situation made everything 10 times worse. He was dealing with heartbreak, betrayal, and public embarrassment all at the same time. By the time the truth started coming out, the damage was already done. The fake rumor had cost everyone involved: money, relationships, reputations, and opportunities. But the consequences kept coming in waves. Gigi tried to control the narrative by posting on her Instagram story, "I left. Now you want to get on the internet and rush to paint a false narrative about me off a fake Twitter post is insane. I've never cheated on him and you know that. I never dealt with that man. Play that sympathetic role somewhere else, please." But her response actually made things worse for her. First, she admitted that she left the relationship, which contradicted the narrative that Kai broke up with her. Second, telling Kai to cut out the sympathy act while he was dealing with mental health issues showed her true colors to the entire internet. The internet saw right through her attempt to play victim, and the comments on her posts became absolutely brutal. People started digging up old posts, old comments, and old videos that showed her real personality. Her digital footprint was getting exposed and it wasn't looking good. People found old comments where she was thirsting over NBA YoungBoy, posting stuff like "YoungBoy is bae" and "NBA YoungBoy make you move." The digital footprint was real, and it was painting a picture that contradicted everything she was saying in her defense. The legal and street consequences were different for everyone involved. For Kai, it was a lesson about trusting the wrong people, believing rumors without verification, and the importance of communication. For YB, it was about how fake news can damage your reputation even when you're trying to do something positive.
Damn, it's my last time telling you, nigga. Why you ain't stupid early boys to get yourself hurt behind a hoe? Man, I'm a gangster. I'm telling you like a man. I don't pay on a fake page. I ain't got that to do, man. I'm too up. I'm too G'd up, man. Like, you want a nigga to f your bitch so bad, I'm telling you, I don't even talk to her for these little weird ass hoes y'all been bringing up. I wouldn't dare even talk to him. Never spoke to him. Keep animals, my dude.
For Gigi, it was about how your actions eventually catch up with you, and the internet never forgets. This whole situation changed how we look at social media rumors and their real-world consequences forever. A fake Twitter account with 600 followers managed to destroy relationships, cost people hundreds of thousands of dollars, create unnecessary beef between people who respected each other, and rob fans of what could have been legendary content. The impact on hip-hop and streaming culture was immediate and lasting. Content creators started being more careful about what they believed and shared. The situation showed how dangerous misinformation can be when it involves real people with real money, real relationships, and real consequences. Collaborations between rappers and streamers became more common after this, but people learned to handle rumors and drama more carefully. The Kai and YB situation became a cautionary tale about the importance of communication, fact-checking, and not letting fake news destroy real opportunities. Kai Cenat's legacy as a streamer remains intact and actually got stronger. This situation showed his vulnerability and humanity, which made fans connect with him even more. The young king learned hard lessons about fact-checking, communication, and choosing the right people to have in your circle. The streaming community also learned about the importance of mental health support. Kai's openness about his struggles, combined with how Gigi dismissed his mental health issues, started important conversations about supporting creators who are dealing with personal problems behind the scenes. NBA YoungBoy's reputation took an unnecessary hit initially, but those who know the real story understand he was actually trying to show love to Kai and his crew. YB's willingness to spend $200,000 on a surprise gift for someone he barely knew shows the type of person he really is. Generous, loyal, and real, not the villain the fake rumors made him out to be. The situation also exposed how some people use relationships with famous people for clout, money, and lifestyle upgrades. Gigi's behavior became a textbook example of what to avoid, asking for $1 million in Christmas gifts, posting about your amazing life while your man struggles with mental health, moving suspicious with other dudes, and then trying to play victim when it all falls apart. Today, Kai is focusing on his mental health and his streaming career. He's learned to be more careful about who he lets into his inner circle and how he handles rumors. The man is still young, successful, and has millions of fans who support him. This experience, as painful as it was, probably saved him from bigger problems down the line. NB. A young boy continues to make music and stay out of unnecessary drama, but this situation proved he's not the person fake rumors make him out to be. The fact that he was willing to surprise a young streamer with a $200,000 car shows his character, regardless of what the internet says about him. Rakai missed out on what would have been the surprise of a lifetime, a free Lamborghini Urus from one of the biggest rappers in the game. That's probably the most expensive missed opportunity in streaming history, all because of a fake Twitter account and miscommunication. DJ Academics learned about the power of his platform and how his words can be twisted and used to create fake narratives. Even though he never said what the fake account claimed, his name got dragged into the drama, showing how anyone can become a victim of misinformation. The real lesson here is about the power of misinformation in the social media age. One fake tweet from a nobody account caused real damage to real people's lives and relationships. It cost NBA YoungBoy $200,000, destroyed Kai's relationship, created unnecessary beef between two people who should have been collaborating, robbed fans of epic content, and damaged multiple reputations. For real, this whole situation could have been avoided if people just picked up the phone and had real conversations instead of believing everything they see on Twitter. But that's the world we live in now, where fake news travels faster than the truth and the consequences are very real and very expensive. The streets are still talking about this situation, and rightfully so. It's a perfect example of how social media can destroy lives when people don't verify information before acting on it. It's also a perfect example of how toxic people can manipulate situations to their advantage while playing victim when things fall apart. Gigi's response to the whole situation, dismissing Kai's mental health struggles, trying to control the narrative, and playing victim, showed everyone who she really was. The internet doesn't forget, and her reputation is probably damaged forever. Even if she ends up with someone richer and more famous, people will always remember her as the girl who allegedly used Kai Cenat, broke his heart, and cost him a potential friendship with NBA YoungBoy. The broader impact on the entertainment industry is still being felt. People are more careful about believing rumors, more likely to fact-check before sharing information, and more aware of how fake accounts can create real drama for engagement and clout. At the end of the day, this story ain't just about a breakup or fake rumors. It's about loyalty, truth, and the real cost of believing everything you see online. It's about recognizing toxic people before they can damage your life and career. It's about the importance of mental health, real communication, and having genuine friends who support you through difficult times. The next time you see some wild rumor trending, remember this situation and ask yourself, is this real or is this just another fake account trying to destroy people's lives for clout? The next time someone asks you for $1 million in Christmas gifts, remember Gigi and run the other way. The next time you have beef with someone, pick up the phone and have a real conversation instead of believing what you see on social media. That's the real lesson from this whole mess, and hopefully it prevents the next situation like this from happening. But knowing the internet, probably not. The cycle continues, and the next victims are probably already being lined up by some fake account somewhere ready to cause chaos for views and engagement. Stay woke, verify your sources, protect your peace, choose your circle carefully, and remember, not everything that trends is true. Sometimes the biggest stories are built on the smallest lies, and the consequences are bigger than anyone imagined. The Kai Cenat and NBA YoungBoy situation will go down in internet history as one of the most unnecessary beefs ever created, all because people believed a lie instead of seeking the truth.
I wouldn't know what to do. My son get a murder charge, bro. Like, I gotta stop him from crashing out, bro. Like,
Boosie's crash dummy son is trying to kill Kodak Black for dissing his dad, and he even got exposed for making an attempt that has the whole hip-hop community on edge and law enforcement watching every move. The reality of all them Instagram posts and tough talk, Tootie Raw was running around with switches, sawed-off shotguns, machine guns, and silencers that ultimately led to federal charges and now death threats against multiple rappers. We're talking about willful obstruction of law enforcement officers on top of weapons charges that could put him away for decades. The shocking truth behind what brought this beef to a boiling point is more complex and dangerous than anyone imagined, and we're about to reveal it all, including the exact messages where Tootie said he can't wait to catch a rapper and shoot the f*** out of him, plus how he's been stalking Lil Crick since 2023 trying to make good on these threats. Yo, what's good, fam? We're about to dive deep into some real street drama that's been shaking up the hip-hop community and could end with somebody in a body bag doing life or both. This ain't just rap beef, this is federal case territory with real consequences. Now, before we get into this wild ride, let me keep it 100 with y'all. Social media been buzzing about Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, going full crash-out mode over Kodak Black's diss track. But yo, we about to separate the facts from the fiction, the real from the fake, because this situation got layers that most people don't even know about. 2023. That's when this whole situation really started brewing, but the roots go back even further. Kodak Black was offered $1 million to do a song with Tekashi 6ix9ine, and like any normal person chasing a bag would, he accepted that offer. But this decision was about to create a domino effect that's still playing out today with death threats, federal charges, and a young man ready to throw his life away. Now, hold up before y'all start thinking this is just another rap beef that's gonna blow over in a few weeks. We're talking about a young man with serious federal gun charges, including possession of sawed-off weapons, machine guns, and silencers, who's now making direct threats against established rappers while out on bond. This is the type of situation that ends with either life sentences or obituaries. But here's where it gets real spicy. So check it, 2023, Kodak Black gets offered $1 million to collaborate with Tekashi 6ix9ine. Now, for those who don't know the full story, 6ix9ine is probably the most hated person in hip-hop culture right now because he snitched on his whole Treyway crew to get out of prison early. We're talking about a dude who told on everybody he could think of to save his own skin. When Kodak accepted that offer, it sent shockwaves through the street rap community. But here's the thing, 6ix9ine was playing chess, not checkers. He was using established artists to legitimize himself and prove that even real street rappers would work with him for the right price. Kodak went on Drink Champs and said something that had everybody's jaw on the floor. $1 million is $1 million. I don't even know the niggas he told on, and I ain't even from over there. That's y'all rat.
I mean, fucking all about to do a song with a nigga who like, I don't even know the niggas he told on. Went in on and I ain't even from over there. And this is some shit like, nigga, that's y'all rat. I know only nigga squeeze this nigga out some cheese, homie. Yeah. I know so do some shit like, bro, y'all ain't finna do nothing. Y'all ain't even squeeze a nigga out some money.
Real talk, that statement right there showed that your morals, your street codes, your principles, they all got a price tag if the number is high enough. But yo, this wasn't just about one song or one check. This was about the fundamental question of whether street rappers can separate their business from their street credibility. Kodak basically said that street politics don't apply to him when it comes to making money. And that perspective divided the entire hip-hop community. The crazy part is, Kodak wasn't completely wrong from a business standpoint. The music industry has always been about making money first and street politics second. But when you build your whole brand on being authentic and keeping it real, taking money from the most famous snitch in hip-hop history looks like the ultimate sellout move. Now, in the streets and in hip-hop culture, we know snitching is the ultimate violation. There's no coming back from that, no redemption, no second chances. But Boosie's situation was different because he's always been that dude who stands up and speaks out against street code violations, even when it costs him relationships and money. Boosie called Kodak's brother directly and asked him if Kodak really did a song with 6ix9ine. When it was confirmed, Boosie said it hurt him personally and that he had to block Kodak completely. That's some real disappointment right there, losing respect for somebody you looked at as solid. Boosie said that was a detrimental move to him, bro. 6ix9ine is the most hated person in prison by every race. What Kodak did, he's gonna have to stand on that.
I thought it was a lie. When I first saw it on Instagram, I got up, tried to call Kodak, but he must have had a new number. I called his brother and I asked him, did Kodak do a song with 6ix9ine? He said, yeah, bro. Think so. It fucked me up, it hurt me. He asked me did I want to talk to Kodak. I told him I ain't want to talk to Kodak or block Kodak. That was a detrimental move to him, bro. 6ix9ine is the most hated person in prison. By every race, what Kodak did, he's gonna have to stand on that.
And real talk, Boosie wasn't wrong about the cultural impact. Kodak's decision gave other artists permission to work with 6ix9ine, which weakened the entire anti-snitch stance in hip-hop. But here's where it gets complicated. On one hand, you got the traditional street code that says you don't do business with snitches, period. No exceptions, no excuses, no amount of money makes it acceptable. On the other hand, you got the reality that snitching is becoming more accepted in the rap industry, and artists are prioritizing profit over principles. The real kicker, though, Kodak's decision opened up a conversation about whether the street code is outdated in today's music business. Some people respected his honesty about chasing the bag, while others saw it as selling out everything hip-hop stands for. This divide created the foundation for everything that's happening now. Fast forward to 2024 and Kodak Black is on some completely different energy. Word on the street is he's been heavy on the drugs. We're talking about serious substance abuse that's affecting his decision-making and impulse control. When you mix hard drugs with unresolved beef and ego, you get crash-out behavior that can destroy everything you've built. That's exactly what happened when Kodak dropped that diss track aimed at Boosie. The timing was suspect as hell. He waited until the day before Boosie had to go to court to drop this track, which shows he was trying to add stress and distraction to an already difficult situation. In the song, Kodak went straight at Boosie's neck with some personal attacks that crossed several lines. He talked about how Boosie was mad he couldn't sign him back in the day, basically saying Boosie was jealous that he made it without needing Boosie's help or co-sign. Kodak also called out Boosie for not moving like a real OG, which is a direct attack on his street credibility and leadership in the culture. He basically said Boosie was washed up and irrelevant, only getting attention when he mentions bigger names like Kodak or NBA Youngboy. The track was smooth musically, I ain't gonna lie, but the content was designed to hurt Boosie personally and professionally. Kodak knew exactly what buttons to push to get under Boosie's skin, and he pushed all of them at the worst possible time. Boosie wasn't having none of that disrespect. He jumped on Twitter and went completely off, posting a series of tweets that showed just how hurt and angry he was about the whole situation. The first tweet said, "You waiting until the day before I go to court to drop a weak-ass diss song, LOL. You a clout-chasing crackhead. You know what I got going on and you do this the day before court. 100 emoji. You're a real clown." Right off the bat, Boosie called Kodak a crackhead, which is about as disrespectful as it gets in hip-hop. But Boosie didn't stop there. He kept going. "When's the last time you heard somebody say, 'Put on that new Kodak'? Laughing emoji. You done, bro. Your career is over. Your music trash and your looks are even worse. Only time you relevant is when you mention me or YB." That's some real personal attacks right there, going after his appearance, his music quality, and his relevance in the culture. The most savage part was when Boosie said, "I know you're going to be holding the phone like Pookie off of New Jack City waiting on some bad news. You're going to be up all night smoking that shat wishing bad on me." Let that sink in for a minute. Boosie basically painted a picture of Kodak as a crackhead sitting by the phone hoping for bad news about his court case. Then Boosie hit him with the ultimate street diss. "One thing won't happen though. I won't be checking PC like you did." PC means protective custody, and Boosie was basically saying that unlike Kodak, he wouldn't need protection in prison. That's questioning somebody's gangster on the highest level. The hashtag at the end said it all. CCCE, which stands for Clout Chasing Crackhead. Boosie created a whole acronym just to disrespect Kodak, and that shows the level of anger and disappointment he was feeling. Now, this is where we got to address the elephant in the room. Boosie's son, Tootie Raw. This is the same young man who got arrested for some serious federal weapons charges that read like a GTA inventory. Possession of sawed-off shotgun, sawed-off rifle, machine gun, dangerous weapon, and silencer, plus willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. We're talking about federal charges that could put him away for decades, not years. These aren't state charges that he can plea bargain down to probation. Federal weapons charges, especially involving machine guns and silencers, come with mandatory minimum sentences that judges can't reduce even if they want to. But instead of laying low, getting good lawyers, and fighting his case quietly, Tootie decided to jump into his daddy's beef with both feet. This is crash-out behavior at its finest, making your legal situation worse by drawing more attention to yourself. Tootie posted on Instagram, "I'm in the streets with this stuff for real. Go ask your big dog about Little Raw, dude. I'll put that belt down on you, dude, and I ain't got no pics with this stuff, and I'm ready to go to war. If who against me, we on y'all." That's a direct threat of violence while he's out on federal bond. The phrase "put that belt down" is street talk for putting somebody in a coffin. "I ain't got no pics with this stuff" means he's not posting evidence of his weapons on social media. And "we on y'all" is a direct threat that he's coming for anybody who has problems with him or his family. But here's the crazy part. Tootie has been trying to establish his street credibility for years. People in the comments were laughing at him, calling him soft, saying he's just Boosie's privileged son who never had to struggle. That type of disrespect eats at somebody who's trying to prove they're really about that life. The real tea that got everybody shook was when Lil Crix jumped into the beef. Crix is connected to Kodak's circle down in Florida, and when he started laughing at Tootie's threats and posting them online, that's when things got really dangerous. But here's what most people don't know. Tootie has been trying to get at Lil Crix since 2023. We're talking about a year-long campaign of harassment and threats that shows this isn't just about defending his daddy. This is about a young man who's been looking for any excuse to prove himself through violence. Lil Crix posted screenshots showing that Tootie had been in his DMs for months, sending message after message trying to start problems. Crix was basically ignoring him because he didn't take Tootie seriously, which only made Tootie more desperate and more dangerous. Tootie started sending direct messages to Lil Crix that were straight up death threats. One message said, "You a hoe. You ain't like that boy. Don't get this confused if you want and see what the f happened. Come to the A and play and see what happened on my soul. You ain't gonna make it back." Another message was even more explicit. "I ain't gonna look for you, but if you pull up, we're gonna show 100%. You ain't gonna make it back. You a DCA rider when you do Kodak not even care. You signed and still broke. I never signed a deal. I'm richer than you. Bum ass and guy." But the most chilling message was this one. "I'm ready to make an example out of a rap guy. I've been waiting on this edge so long to face one of you niggas and go viral. Every day of my life, I'm ready to shoot out of anybody. Try to play with me. You be first one and see if I'm playing." That last message reveals everything about Tootie's mindset. He doesn't just want to hurt somebody, he wants to go viral for it. He wants the internet to see him as a real killer, not just Boosie's son. That's the most dangerous type of person, somebody who sees murder as a path to fame and respect. Real talk, that message right there shows a young man who's ready to throw his life away for internet clout and street credibility. He's not talking about self-defense or protecting his family. He's talking about making an example out of a rapper just to prove a point. For y'all who might not understand why Tootie is moving so reckless, let me explain the unique pressure that comes with being a celebrity's child in hip-hop culture. People automatically assume you're soft because you grew up with money and didn't have to struggle like your parents did. Tootie has been dealing with this his whole life. People look at him and see Boosie's son who lived in nice homes, went to good schools, and had opportunities that most kids in the hood never get. They don't see a street dude who earned his stripes. They see a suburban kid trying to play gangster. The street's been talking, and a lot of people don't take Tootie seriously because they think his daddy's money and fame protected him from the real struggle. Comments on his posts are full of people calling him fake, soft, and privileged. That type of constant disrespect can drive somebody to do something stupid just to prove a point. But here's the thing that makes Tootie's situation even more complicated. Boosie really did bring him into that lifestyle from a young age. Tootie was on the block when he was 2 and 3 years old, watching his daddy move weight and handle business, so he's not completely removed from that street life like some celebrity kids.
Look at it. Put them phones up, Tootie. Where you from? Put them up. This Tootie badass. Tell the camera where you from. Cross the what? Track.
The problem is, Tootie wants to live up to his daddy's reputation without understanding that Boosie went through hell to build that reputation. Boosie did real time, lost real friends, and made real sacrifices.
Now that you get older, you be like, bro, like, how the f you 40 years old still gotta look over your shoulder, you know, from your past. That's a f***ed up feeling. When you gotta go especially when you go in your city, you gotta look everywhere over your shoulder. Like, that shit wasn't worth it. The respect you got for anything you did ain't worth you being a older man looking over your motherfucking shoulder.
That's right. Tootie wants the respect without paying the price, and that's not how the streets work. Plus, Boosie has always been protective of his kids, trying to keep them out of the life that almost destroyed him. But Tootie sees that protection as his daddy not believing in him or not thinking he's tough enough. That creates resentment and makes him want to prove himself even more. Let's talk about the reality of Tootie's situation from a legal standpoint. He's already facing federal weapons charges that could put him away for 10 to 20 years minimum. Now he's making public death threats that prosecutors can use against him in court to argue that he's a danger to society who deserves the maximum sentence. Every Instagram post, every message, every threat is evidence that federal prosecutors are collecting right now. They're building a case that shows Tootie is exactly the type of person these gun laws were designed to stop, somebody who uses weapons to intimidate and threaten others.
I wouldn't know what to do. My son get a murder charge, bro. Like, I gotta stop him from crashing out, bro. Like, then it worried me more. All them little around him clutching, all them little clutching, man. You know, easy for something to happen, bro. Like, should be having me worried as a daddy, bro. Like.
For people who haven't been keeping up with federal gun laws, possession of a sawed-off weapon and silencer are serious charges that come with mandatory minimum sentences. Add in the machine gun charge, and we're talking about potential decades in prison. Making death threats while on bond, that's just asking for them to revoke his bond and add more charges. This beef between Kodak and Boosie, with Tootie jumping in making death threats, represents a larger problem in hip-hop culture. We've created an environment where young men feel like they have to prove their authenticity through violence and criminal activity instead of talent and hard work. The street's been watching this situation, and it's sending the wrong message to other young men who look up to these figures. When celebrity children are making death threats and talking about catching bodies for internet clout, what does that tell kids who don't have the same advantages? Real talk. There's nothing cool about throwing your life away for street credibility. Tootie could use his platform and resources to build something positive, create jobs, help his community. Instead, he's choosing to chase the same demons that almost destroyed his father and could end up destroying him too. At the end of the day, Tootie's situation isn't just about proving he's tough or defending his father's honor. It's about a young man who's been given every advantage in life but is choosing the most dangerous path possible because of cultural pressures, personal insecurities, and a desperate need for validation. The beef between Kodak and Boosie started over principles, whether it's acceptable to do business with snitches and what that means for hip-hop culture. But it's evolved into something much more dangerous, with a young man making death threats and talking about going viral for violence. This situation is bigger than just one family's drama. It's about how we as a culture glorify violence and make young men feel like they have to prove themselves through criminal activity. Until we change that narrative, we're going to keep seeing talented young men throw their lives away for temporary respect. The real question is, will Tootie learn from his father's mistakes, or will he have to go through the system himself to understand that this lifestyle doesn't lead anywhere good? And what happens if he actually follows through on these threats? We could be looking at multiple life sentences, or worse, somebody's son not making it home. Boosie went through hell and came out the other side trying to build something positive, but now his son is heading down the same path, possibly worse because he's making threats while already facing federal charges. That's not gangster, that's just stupid. What are your thoughts on Tootie's situation and his future? Do you think he's really about that life, or is this just a young man trying to prove himself to people who will never respect him anyway? Should Boosie do more to control his son's behavior, or is Tootie old enough to face the consequences of his own choices? And what does this say about how we raise young men in hip-hop culture?